Chapter 46:01. Tao Yi. Here. He Wan Quan. Here. Meng Meng. Here. Jiang Yuyan. Here. Zhao Dai. Here. Yi Qian would look up at the students whose names were called every time the roll was called. By the time all 43 freshmen were called, she had memorized everyone's names. Yi Qian, who had memorized all 43 students, folded the name list back into her pocket. Yi Qian, who was standing at the spot where the sun was setting through the leaves, was bathing in the bright white sunlight. Her cold and stern voice smashed into everyone's ears. We are now divided into 4 classes. Tao Yi will be the class monitor of Class 1. Classes 1 to 10 will be Class 1. He Wan Quan will be the class monitor of Class 2. Classes 11 to 21 will be Class 2. Meng Meng will be the class monitor of Class 3. Classes 22 to 32 will be Class 3. Jiang Yuyan will be the class monitor of Class 4. Classes 33 to 43 will be Class 4. After the roll call, Yi Qian used the simplest method to divide the students into 4 classes. The class monitor was a freshman she selected after 10 minutes of observation. After the class allocation, they officially entered military training. The freshman who originally thought that being assigned to a female instructor would be a slow test project that would make the other classes envious, regretted their decision. Stand at attention. If the first time didn't work, do it a second time. If the second time didn't work, do it a third time? Their instructor Yi said calmly, "It's okay. The lunch time can be moved. We will leave when we meet." A very calm voice said the most terrifying words. Who would dare to slack off? No one. Afraid that the lunch time would be moved. Afraid that the lunch break time would be moved. Huang Yan worked hard to learn. Stand at attention, good. But she stood at attention and didn't move. At ease, hurry up. Her right leg whooshed out quickly. She didn't dare to slack off at all. As for the idea of pretending to be unwell and asking for leave, Huang Yan completely forgot about it. She didn't dare. She was afraid that there would really be a knife on her neck. To the right turn. To the right turn. To the left turn. To the left turn. Move neatly. Distinguish between left and right clearly. If you can't distinguish between your own hands and your own hand, I'm afraid that the left and right faces will be uneven. Right, left, I need to distribute them evenly. Lu Qi, you look like you want to stay and chat with Taiyang. Turn right and stay where you are? Do you feel bad? Nie Chunlin, please distinguish between right and left. Don't turn your face into a yin-yang face. Duan Bin, take a break. Speed up your kick by half a beat. Shoelaces are loose. Adjust. Don't fall and hurt others. It was a very humorous remark, but the freshmen couldn't bring themselves to laugh. Why can't I laugh? Because. How was she able to call out everyone's names in less than half an hour, and even get all of them right? How did she know all of them? Why did they have to meet such a beautiful and harmless instructor who was so strict that everyone was afraid of her? Let's march. 1-2-1, 1-2-1, 1-2-1, 1-2-3-4. 1-2-3-4. Commands and shouts were heard, and their footsteps gradually became slightly orderly from the initial disorderly pace. Occasionally, one could even hear the sounds of a beat slower and faster. Marching and marching were good for slacking off. After 1.5 hours of military training, some freshmen couldn't hold on any longer. It was too hot and too hot. The sun made their faces burn with pain. It was so hot that they were wet all over. Even their sleeves were sweaty. They really wanted to rest, but their instructor didn't have any ideas at all. Chapter 46:02. The instructor didn't have any opinions, but they didn't dare to say anything. Every time the instructor, who looked easy to bully, glanced at them coldly, F***CK? Did you feel like your head was being chopped off? Did you feel your whole body trembling in fear? Did you feel afraid to look at her in the eyes? Yes, all of them. They really wanted to rest, but they were scared and didn't dare to say it out loud. What a mistake! They thought the instructor was easy to talk to, but the reality was cruel. They didn't even have a place to cry. It wasn't that they hadn't thought of resisting, but every time they made eye contact with her, the cold and calm look in her eyes would make them cower instantly. The courage that they had gathered with great difficulty was like a balloon being pricked by a needle, and it was gone. The training started at 10 o'clock. It started with standing at attention and a short rest. It ended with the marching and kicking. All the students in the class were red in the face and sweating profusely. They didn't even have time to catch their breath. They trained until 11:30. Just when they thought the training would end at 12 o'clock, the cold-looking instructor called out the names of several students after standing at attention. Wang Haiba, step forward. Peng Yi, step forward. Xiehan, step forward. Wang Pengyu, step forward. Ouyang Xiaoya, step forward. Su Yi, step forward. The rest of you, take a 10-minute break. A string of names came out from Yi Qian's mouth. A total of 8 freshmen obediently stepped forward. The 8 of them who had trained for an hour became Yi Qian's first batch of targets. The freshmen who finally got a 10-minute break felt like they had just walked back from the execution ground. They were so tired that they sat under the tree and didn't want to get up. Who said the female instructor wasn't strict? Who said the female instructor looked easy to talk to? Wrong, 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 very wrong. The 8 people who turned left were always half a beat slower than the others. Yi Jian directly pulled them out and made them stand at the front to pass the test. After 2 rounds, Yi Jian said to a boy, Wang Haiba, use your left foot, use your right foot, use your right foot, use your left hand. That's right. She met a boy who had the same hands and feet. His left leg and right leg moved at the same time. She noticed the problem from the time they practiced marching. There was no change, even after half an hour of observation. He didn't seem to notice it himself. Yi Qian had to pull him out alone. The main reason for having the same hands and feet was that the body was uncoordinated. After intensive training, it would be straightened. The other students in the class did not notice Wang Haiba's movements. Yi Qian did not train Wang Haiba in front of the other students. Instead, he led Wang Haiba a little further away before saying, I'll count to 1, 2, 1. Follow my movements and pay attention to your steps and movements. See if there are any problems. Wang Haiba was sweating profusely as he was dragged out by Yi Qian. He was very nervous. When he heard what Yi Qian said, he didn't even have time to guess what was going on. He just nodded and said, Understood. Listen to the command. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, stop. Have you found your problem yet? Yi Qian, who was walking a few steps ahead, stopped and turned around to look at the boy who hadn't finished yet. Lower your head and look at your own movements, then look at mine. The boy lowered his head to take a look, then looked up at Yi Qian's actions. He finally realized where his problem lay. His face turned red and he quickly adjusted himself. Keep your right leg still, withdraw your right hand and use your left hand. Yi Qian was very patient as he corrected the boy. The boy was anxious and embarrassed, and it made it even harder for him to move freely. Don't panic. Think about using your right leg, your left leg, your left leg, your right hand. You can slow down. If the first set of mistakes was wrong, do it again. If the second set of mistakes was wrong, do it again. The break was only 10 minutes. Yi Qian did not expect him to straighten out immediately, but the boy at least began to pay attention to his own movements. As Yi Qian instructed the boy on how to coordinate his movements, the students resting over there began to feel restless. They had only trained for an hour and a half, and they felt like they had been crippled. There were still 9 days of training left. If they didn't think of a way to endure it, how could they endure it? Chapter 4603. Even the boys couldn't take it, let alone the girls. As for thinking of a solution, what could they think of? All the freshmen were the same. No one wanted to be special, so what could they think of? I thought the military training would be fun, but it's only been an hour and a half. I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play at all. I want to blow on the fan, I want to eat popsicles, I want to play games, I want to lie on the bed. I want to too. I'm so king tired. I kicked so hard that my calves are trembling. I turned left, then right, then back, until I'm dizzy. Everything else is fine, but it's too hot. I can't stand it. I feel like I'm going to get a heat stroke. There are still 9.5 days left. Brothers, the long march has just begun. Yi Qian was at the front pointing out Wang Haiba's lack of coordination. The freshmen who were resting were sitting in the shade of a tree. They were already lamenting about life. The boys who said they were tired were just saying it. Other than that, they didn't have any other thoughts. There were also a few boys who were full of ideas who gathered together and whispered something. They were so excited that they were rubbing their fists. It's boring to write it alone. We have to write it together and hand it over to the instructor. When the time comes, who knows, we might succeed. Brothers, we don't ask for much. As long as one person succeeds, everyone will follow him. There are good and bad people mixed together. I'm afraid none of them will be able to succeed. We need to find the most handsome one in the class. The girls like the good-looking ones the most. That's right, that's right. It has to be good-looking. We can't rely on numbers to win. Just the few of us. Brothers, I'm not trying to discourage us. Come, let's admire each other for 3 minutes and see if we can appreciate each other's beauty. There was no need for 3 minutes. Even 30 seconds was a long time. The boys who gathered together to come up with ideas to coax the instructor and gain benefits for themselves silently retracted their gazes. Actually, they couldn't bear to look at it. Looks like we have to ask for the handsome ones. I think our instructor will definitely like the handsome ones. Let the handsome ones do it. Even if the instructor doesn't accept it, he'll probably let us go for the sake of the handsome ones. I've thought about it. Writing a love letter to the instructor is not feasible. Speaking of handsomeness, take a look at the other instructors, especially the one that the girls thought was a celestial being. Isn't he handsome? The military academy is overflowing with males, and our instructor is also a campus belle. How many handsome men are there in the military academy? There were so many of them. I'm afraid it won't achieve the effect we want. Then what should we do? This won't do, that won't do. Are we supposed to be as tired as cows every day? It's not like there's no way. Before the boy who came up with the idea could say it out loud, a girl who heard it next to them had an ugly expression on her face. She couldn't hold it in anymore and turned to them. You can't bully instructor Yi just because she's a female instructor. Being caught red-handed by the girl, the boys looked a little embarrassed. They silently turned their heads away and didn't continue. We never thought of bullying the instructor. Don't overthink it. I'm overthinking? What did you guys just say about writing a letter, confessing your love, and being promoted? Isn't that bullying? The girl was the local girl from Xiang City who fought with Huang Yuan yesterday. Yi Qian was in the same dormitory as her. Hearing the boys behind her say more and more unpleasant things, she couldn't bear it anymore and turned around. The boys who defended themselves didn't expect that everything they said would be heard by the girl. For a moment, their expressions were resentful and they couldn't say anything more. Chapter 4604. Zheng Can, forget it. Don't talk about it anymore. Another girl in the same dorm was afraid of quarreling, so she whispered, "They're just talking about it. They're not doing anything. Just remind them. You guys better not mess around. It's not fun to tease the instructor. Don't let us be punished with you guys in the end." The girl, Xingcan, glared at the boys who still wanted to play tricks, then turned around. The boys who were caught didn't have the mood to say anything for a while. It was embarrassing to be lectured by a girl, but they couldn't quarrel with her. If they quarreled, they wouldn't be in the right. Forget it, the method just now won't work. It's better not to do that. It'll be embarrassing if word gets out. Yeah, forget it, forget it. Let's just do the military training. Seeing that the female instructor is pretty, we'll endure it. Everyone's the same. We'll face the difficulties together. The boys who were excited just now were discouraged. Thinking about it again, they also felt that writing a love letter to their beautiful instructor was a rotten idea that couldn't be any worse. No, Yuji, think about it. What other good ideas do you have? Let's hear it. The boy who was called first reflexively turned his head to look in the direction of the girl. Seeing that the girl didn't pay attention, he lightly exhaled and said with lingering fear, "Lower your voice, don't let them hear you. That Xing, she's in the same dorm as the instructor." "Ah, she won't tell on us, right?" Immediately, a boy jumped up in shock. He didn't want to get into trouble without doing anything. The skinny Yuji pushed his glasses up the bridge of his nose. He was still sweating as he whispered, "There's a Tao E in our dorm. He's the national runner-up in Taekwondo. Previously, we wanted to have him compete with his instructor. I'll go back to the dorm at noon and ask him to make a bet with Tao E. If he wins, the instructor will go easy on our military training. What do you guys think?" Speaking of which, the boys who were discouraged and accepted obediently had their eyes light up again. No one objected, and they all nodded. This idea worked. Tao E, who was targeted by Yuji, was also surrounded by his own class members. They were also discussing whether there was a way to make the upcoming military training less difficult. In the end, the honor of the heavy responsibility fell on Tao E from their class. One of the girls said worriedly, "We still have a chance of winning, but I'm afraid that we won't be able to control our strength and injure the instructor. What should we do then? The instructor is a military academy student. How could he get hurt so easily? The class monitor is only sparring with the instructor, it's not a real fight, so nothing will happen. Don't you always see soldiers sparring on TV? I didn't see anything either." Tao E, who also had the same thought, smiled and said, "I'll control my strength well so that I won't hurt the instructor. Now we need to see if the instructor will accept the challenge. If the instructor accepts it, then we can exchange pointers." As the instructor, Yi Qian naturally accepted the invitation. He even accepted it with a smile. Taekwondo national runner-up. Not bad. Let's spar during the afternoon break. Yi Qian happily accepted the challenge, and the whole class erupted into cheers. The other students, who had been standing at attention for 20 minutes, wanted to know what was going on. The one who shouted the loudest was the boy. The boy, Yuji, immediately asked, "Instructor, if we win, shouldn't you express your gratitude?" "We'll wait." Yi Qian raised his eyebrows and asked, "How do you want me to express my gratitude?" "We want to have more rest time so that our military training won't be so tiring. The weather is too hot. We can't take it anymore." "Yes, instructor. If we win, you won't be so strict with us." Chapter 4605. His voice was very loud, so loud that even the instructors next door could hear him. Hearing this, the corners of the instructors' mouths twitched slightly. It was true that newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. Challenging Yi Qian, who even they could not win against, TSK, the ignorant were fearless. The instructors who heard this silently prayed for the boy who challenged Yi Qian. As for Yi Qian, of course, he gladly accepted it and said with a smile, "What if I win? Do you guys also need to express your gratitude? Bets need to be fair, demands also need to be fair. How about this, if you guys ask me to be lenient with you, sure, as long as you win, I will be lenient. Similarly, if I win, you guys have to follow my rules for military training, how about that? No, I have to ask if all of you agree?" "Ha, agree. Agree. Instructor, we agree." Yi Qian smiled. "Children, you guys are too naive, so naive that I feel a little guilty for bullying you. But since you guys are so enthusiastic about it, then I'll just accept it." "Okay, then it's settled." The smiling Yi Qian blinked his limpid eyes, a hint of craftiness flashing across his eyes. Okay, it's settled. Do you want to high-five me, instructor?" High five, high five, high five as proof. Instructor, you can't go back on your word. The children, who had dug a hole for themselves, were overjoyed. They were so happy that they couldn't stop laughing. They were so happy that they quickly decided on this matter. There were also those who disagreed, such as Huang Yan. She disagreed. She also loudly said, disagree. But in the end it was drowned out by the mighty agree, and no one heard her objection. Even if someone heard it, they would just ignore it. Even the other 3 girls from dorm 405 raised their arms and shouted in agreement. Sing Kan, who had warned the boys not to bully the instructor, also shouted agree loudly. There were also many students in the class who didn't dare to speak at first, but in the end, after being influenced by the atmosphere and seeing that Yi Qian wasn't angry, they also laughed and shouted agree. The matter was happily decided. Sure, Tao Yi, come up. With a smile on his face, Yi Qian gestured for the boy to come forward. Taekwondo national runner-up. It's indeed very good. It's also good to learn from each other. Just treat it as a form of entertainment. Tao Yi walked up to Yi Qian and gave him a military salute. Then, he chuckled and said, Instructor, when shall we start learning from each other? Why don't we do it now? The boy in front of her was full of confidence. He had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and regular facial features. At first glance, she could tell that he was a boy with a sense of justice. At the same time, he also had the arrogance of a boy. They were at the perfect age of youth. They should be full of vigor and arrogance. They should be full of sunshine, confidence, and hope for the future. There's no rush. Let's do it tonight. It's cooler at night. Looking at the confident boy in front of him, Yi Qian stretched out his hand. Let's give each other a high five. Pa. The crisp sound of clapping could be heard. The agreement between the instructor and the students was reached. Tao Yi, who returned from the high five, received a hero's welcome. Tao Yi, whether we can have a good military training depends on you. Good luck. Brother, hero, we're counting on you. You must defeat the instructor tonight. Whether we can have a happy life depends on you. I have faith in you, brother. The excited boys happily welcomed the hero they had placed their hopes on. They had absolute faith that the hero they had chosen would lead them to a good life. Chapter 4606. Tao Yi, who shouldered the heavy responsibility, was a little complacent and a little embarrassed. He waved his hand and said, Don't be so polite. I'll try my best. But if I lose, don't blame me. Ha ha ha, you can't lose. You can't lose. Taekwondo runner-up. You're an old bull. For the happiness of the whole class, I'll try my best. Tao Yi, who had been welcomed by the whole class at the beginning of the semester, restrained himself and answered modestly. But deep down, he was still a little excited. Boys at the age of 18 or 19 yearned for attention. Since they had just arrived in a new environment, they more or less wanted to show off themselves, let their classmates see their strengths, and get their recognition. Tao Ran was like that now. How could he not be happy since he had gained the attention and recognition of his classmates? The laughter of the students of the surveying and mapping project made the students of the other classes, who were standing straight, green with envy. The bet between them and the drill master also aroused the thoughts of the students of the other classes. They didn't expect that they dared to bet with the drill master, let alone that their drill master agreed with them. He even agreed to their requests. How could the drill master of the other classes be so nice? Hey, should we also try? The sixth one in the fourth row, don't move. Before the boys of the other classes finished their words, they were discovered by the drill master and warned sternly. Don't move. Don't talk. If I find anyone moving or talking, the whole class will stand for 10 more minutes. The drill masters, who had let the girls secretly look at them during the military training, all became iron-faced Azuras at this moment. They were all stern and serious. No matter boys or girls, as long as they were discovered, they would point them out directly without any special treatment. Look ahead. Clamp your legs. Relax your shoulders naturally. Adjust your breathing slowly. Don't move. Do you hear me? It's just the beginning. You're all like soft noodles. Stand straight if you're a man. Don't let the girls look down on you. The girls stand straighter than you do." In the depths of the boys' hearts, they were cursing in their native language. Stand, stand. Stand for 20 minutes in a military posture. Why is it so unbearable? What are the students of the next class doing? They have stood for 5 or 6 minutes and they are still laughing. Report. A boy of a class suddenly shouted loudly. He was stimulated and wanted to bet too. Speak. Song Jichio's voice was cold and ruthless. The boy with a stiff neck shouted, "Instructor, we want to bet too." The air was a little quiet, and there was a slight undercurrent. The students who stood until their backs hurt all pricked up their ears and cheered for the boy who had the courage to speak. Yes, yes, they also wanted to bet. The requirements were the same. As long as they won, the instructor would relax the requirements for military training. Song Jichio wanted to laugh. However, as an instructor, she had to keep a serious face. Bet? Do you think they can win? Aren't they sparring at night? Why don't you wait until tonight to see the results and then make a bet with our instructor? The boy who had the courage to make the request instantly became timid. The national taekwondo runner-up. She needed to have a few tricks up her sleeves. But in front of Yi Qian, she was nothing. When Tao Yi returned to the group, Yi Qian whistled and began the first part of the military training, standing at attention. Standing in a military posture seemed simple, as one only needed to stand still. However, it was extremely difficult to stand still without moving at all. The time was not long, only 20 minutes. However, because of the delay of 5 or 6 minutes, the students of the other classes finished standing at attention at 12 o'clock sharp. However, the class led by Yi Qian was still going on. Chapter 4607. At noon, the sun was shining brightly. Even the camphor trees on both sides couldn't block the power of the sun. The students who had been standing there for 15 minutes started to feel a little dizzy, especially when they saw rows upon rows of students walking past them. It was an unprecedented challenge to their perseverance and endurance. Yi Qian walked from the front to the back. From time to time, she would call out someone's name and remind them to pay attention to their posture. Every time she called out a student's name, their hearts would jump. They really couldn't understand how their instructor could recognize all of them when they couldn't even recognize all of their classmates. The fear of being watched so closely that there was nowhere to hide was hidden in the depths of the students' hearts. They didn't dare to move or be too presumptuous. Straighten your back, raise your head, and tuck in your lower abdomen. Yi Jian, who walked to the middle of the group, reminded a hunchbacked boy. She grabbed the boy's shoulders with both hands and exerted force. The boy felt a sudden dull pain on both sides of his shoulders. It was so painful that his face was distorted. Spread your shoulders, don't pull them inwards. Firstly, it's not manly. Secondly, it's bad for your image. Yi Qian knew she used a little force, but she didn't expect that such a small force would cause the boy's face to twist in pain. She thought that she didn't use much force, so how could it hurt? She thought for a moment and quickly reacted. She forgot that they were all students, not real soldiers. Their tolerance was limited. She quickly apologized. "Sorry, I used a little too much force. Are you okay?" I'm fine," what else could the boy say? He felt a little embarrassed. How much pain could it cause by just expanding his shoulders? But he really was in pain just now. Huang Yali, who was standing in front of the boy, began to chant in her heart, "Can't see me, can't see me, can't see me." She just wanted to become invisible. She didn't want to be stared at by the instructor at all. Mo Fei's law: the more you fear something, the more likely it will happen. Your posture is not bad. Your lower body is very stable. Straighten your back will be even more perfect. The voice that scared her the most came from behind. Then, a hand patted her back. Huang Yan panicked and her body tensed up. She was patted by Yi Qian and fell forward. Huang Yan, who was 172 meters tall, was tall and strong. The person standing in front of her was also a girl. She fell forward and fell on the girl's back. The girl only heard a cry of "ouch," and her whole body was sent flying by Huang Yan. Like a domino effect, another girl in front of him was knocked down. She lost her balance and fell down as well. Yi Qian, I swear to God, she really didn't use any strength just now. She just lightly patted the students' backs to remind them to straighten their back. How did she manage to send them flying? It even caused a chain reaction that instantly caused 2 girls to fall down. I'm sorry, instructor. I didn't do it on purpose. I really didn't do it on purpose. Huang Yan was about to cry. I was just shocked. I didn't expect you to pat my back. I'm sorry, instructor. I didn't do it on purpose. Huang Yan was so scared that she didn't dare to help the girl who was sent flying by her. The surrounding students, who didn't know what happened, hurriedly helped the 2 girls up and asked if they were okay. Seeing that Huang Yan's face was pale with fright, Yi Qian felt a little awkward. Last night, she seemed to have scared this female tyrant too much. Now, whenever she moved a little, she would be frightened. I know. Return to the team and stand properly. With a serious expression, Yi Qian comforted the frightened Huang Yan. Feeling a little guilty, she hurriedly left to ask about the other 2 girls who had fallen down. They didn't have any problems. They just couldn't stand standing for too long. Chapter 4608. The girl herself knew that there was nothing wrong with her. She was just tired from standing and was not on guard. She was suddenly pushed from the back and fell. But someone didn't know. Yu Ji, whose shoulder was hurt by Yi Qian, twisted his face again. His heart was in a panic. So strong. So strong. Even people were sent flying by her. Why did he feel that Tao Yi's victory over the instructor was a little uncertain? Yu Ji, who came up with the idea, was the first to panic. He was the one who was unsure, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. He was afraid that it would affect the morale of the team. Therefore, he could only hold it in until the 20-minute military posture ended. After the morning military training ended, the entire team left and went their separate ways. The instructor didn't lead them to the cafeteria, nor did they have strict rules like the army. Today, the cafeteria was extremely lively. Even the girls with small appetites had increased their portions from 1 or 2 meters to 2 meters. They couldn't help it. They were hungry. Too hungry. They had never been so hungry. And it was very, very tiring. They thought that standing at attention and taking a breather was very tiring, but it wasn't. The most tiring part was the military posture. This was the most tiring and difficult part. I couldn't move for 20 minutes. This was the first time I realized that standing still was a kind of torture. Tiring, too tiring. I thought that I wouldn't be able to endure it and would faint. Who knew that I would endure for 20 minutes? Damn. This was the first time I hated myself for not being weaker. I saw 2 girls in the class faint just like that. The instructor hurriedly sent someone to help them lie down. At that moment I was envious of their gender. I'm as strong as an ox. Even if I faint, the instructor will kick me up. Damn. I thought that the instructors from the military academy would be more gentle, but they're the same. They're all ruthless people when they want to be. They really trained us as soldiers. Military training, bro. You think it's a joke? We're soldiers now. It seems that being a soldier is quite tough. Not really. I think it's quite interesting. Don't you think it's very cool? It's a pity that I got into university. If I didn't, I would have definitely become a soldier. Those who said that the military training was fun and exciting would usually be looked at with, "This person is crazy." However, there were many such students, and there were even girls among them. Tsing Kan belonged to this category, and so did Huang Yan. After Huang Yan's apology last night, the other girls in room 405, including Tsing Kan, did not completely exclude Huang Yan. They just did not talk to her much. Zincan's eyes lit up as he ate. He said, "I want to be a soldier. I want to be as handsome as Instructor Yi. Too handsome." When he taught us the kick, oh my God, I felt like I was about to fall in love with our instructor. Cough, cough, cough. Huang Yuan, who was drinking soup, choked on her soup. Falling in love with our instructor. Are you crazy? They had never seen Instructor Ye's murderous gaze before. Just as he was about to say, "Don't think too highly of Instructor Yi," he saw a row of olive-green people passing through the glass door of the cafeteria. Walking in front, it was the Instructor Yi that Tsing Kan admired. Oh my God! Did she see her? Huang Yuan, who was holding the bowl, lowered her head. She almost buried her head into the fist-sized stainless steel bowl. Outside, Yi Qian quietly retracted his gaze. He was absolutely certain that he had really frightened Huang Yuan. What should he do? He really did not expect the female tyrant to be so easily frightened. She was just like Captain Xia, using her gaze to intimidate. In the end, she actually scared the student. The tiger turned into a mouse. It made him feel guilty. Chapter 4609. Yi Qian had never expected that such a domineering student would change from a tiger to a mouse. After dinner, Song Jiqiu, who was sitting opposite her, sighed and said, "The boys in your class took the lead. Now, several boys in my class also want to have a one-on-one fight with me. Since they won, I have to be more lenient with them. I don't dare to accept. Who knows what they want to compete with me? So, I refused and asked them to see the result of tonight's competition." A student who was eating beside them almost choked on his food when he heard that. He patted his chest a few times to calm himself down. "Yi Jian, who gave that boy in your class the guts to challenge you? And it's a one-on-one. They didn't dare. No, even their drill masters didn't dare. Their drill masters didn't dare, but a hothead dared. How bold he was!" Yi Qian raised his eyebrows and said with interest, "The national runner-up in Taekwondo. I haven't had a fight with the runner-up in a formal competition, so I took it as an entertainment after the military training." So that was it. Did he have the courage? It seems that they didn't do it on the spur of the moment. I'm afraid that they already had a plan. Later, they thought that the military training was hard, so they added an additional condition. The boy in the competition probably also wanted to have a fight with the drill master. Now, he can kill two birds with one stone. Why not? Song Jiqiu laughed in a low voice as she spoke. "It's so interesting. I have to take the students to watch it. Count us in. Let's watch and take them down a notch." Another student chimed in excitedly. The national runner-up in Taekwondo would fight against Yi Qian, who ranked first in physical fitness. It was quite exciting. Yi Qian accepted the challenge because of Tao Yi's identity. She wouldn't have dared to accept any other challenge except for fighting. There were many hidden talents among the freshmen. They had all kinds of martial arts. Who dared to fight with them? After thinking for a while, Yi Qian said to other students and drill masters in a hurry, "The chief drill master reminded us not to be fooled by the students' provocation. We can challenge them, but we can't use the military training as a bargaining chip. I have to report the situation to the chief drill master later. I guess I'll be criticized." "Of course. Don't worry. The freshmen aren't easy to deal with. There are a few girls in my class who are very cunning. I have to stay away from them during my break time and only dare to sit with the boys. I still want to fight. I cherish my life." When it came to the freshmen he was teaching, there were endless topics to talk about. The freshmen felt that the instructors were too harsh, but the instructors also felt that the freshmen were difficult to train. If it were the military academy, whoever dared to be sloppy would be punished immediately. The instructors chatted about the freshmen, and the freshmen chatted about the instructors. Everyone had endless things to say. The boy from Yi Qian's class, Yu Ji, fell asleep the moment he returned to his dorm. When he heard his roommates discussing tonight's competition, He wanted to remind Tao E not to be too confident, but he swallowed his words every time. The boys in the same dormitory were talking about how they were going to win tonight, so he rushed in to pour cold water on them. Fine, why did he have to provoke them? Yuji shut his mouth and didn't say anything, but Huang Yan, who couldn't hide anything, said it. Her voice was very loud, which shocked a few girls who were in high spirits. They thought that she wanted to hit someone again. Huang Yan didn't dare to hit people. Who knew when Instructor Yi, who lived with her, would come back? She cherished her life very much. But these girls were chattering and talking endlessly. She was really annoyed, so she raised her voice and said, "Can you guys not be so optimistic? You're talking about Tao E as if he's already won. Tao E was the national taekwondo runner-up. As for me, I'm the provincial Sanda champion. Look at me now, what am I like to Instructor Yi? When the mouse sees the cat, the mouse has the guts." Chapter 46:10. On the first day that Huang Yan reported to the dormitory, she left a very bad impression on the girls. She was so fierce that she could hit people at any time. Now that she suddenly spoke in a bad tone, several girls surrounded Sing Kan and were shocked. They thought that she was going crazy again. When they heard her say that she was the provincial MMA champion, their calves and stomachs trembled. Huang Yan seemed to see through their fear. She pulled the corners of her mouth and showed a disdainful expression. "Stop entertaining yourselves. It's not too late to talk about it after Tao E wins. I advise you not to be so optimistic. Just wait for Instructor Yi to teach you a lesson." Huang Yan, who was mocking and ridiculing them, glanced at the girls whose expressions were stiff. She muttered, "Boring." Then she fell onto her bed and closed her eyes for an afternoon nap. So annoying. They were all going to be ruined by these ignorant guys. She really didn't know where they got the confidence to bet with the instructor. If it were her, Huang Yan furrowed her brows. If she hadn't been frightened, she would have definitely followed suit. She would have even taken the initiative to stand up and challenge the instructor. Now, she just wanted the 10 days of military training to be over quickly. She wanted to send away the instructor who made her so bold. The military training started at 2:00 in the afternoon. Yi Qian returned to the dormitory at 1:00. The girls were already resting in their beds. She also fell on her bed for an afternoon nap. She arrived at the training location 10 minutes early. The 2:00 sun made the leaves curl up. The cicadas chirped endlessly. It made people feel like the weather was hot enough to make them faint. More than 1,300 freshmen had already started their military training that afternoon. The military training arranged for the freshmen was mainly to stand at attention, stand at ease, look to the left, step to the left, squat, turn to the left, walk in unison, run, kick, stand in military posture, and military boxing. These were all the most basic training content. They would repeat these exercises every day and repeat the command. The loud and energetic voices of the 36 officers could be heard. The freshmen's voices of 1, 2, 3 came one after another. The morning military training was still okay. After all, it had just begun. The freshness hadn't worn off yet. They could endure it for a while, and it would be over in the afternoon. The sun was too bright, and the temperature was too high. There were cases of girls fainting on the ground due to physical reasons in several classes. The community doctor that had been arranged in advance immediately came out and took away the fainted girls. The rest of the students continued with their training. However, there were more and more students who refused to cooperate. At this time, they needed to show the dignity of an instructor. If they didn't know how to punish them physically, they could do push-ups for every 8 beats and do 10 push-ups. They could also run 3 laps in the sun outside the field or do a standing kick. They couldn't put down one foot and had to persist for 10 minutes. After one round, the boys who tried to test the law were all wiped out. The punishment of killing the chicken to warn the monkeys made the monkeys behind them behave themselves, and they did not dare to have any other ideas. They were afraid that they would go for wool and come home shorn. On Yi Qian's side, probably because of tonight's bet, all the trainees behaved themselves and did not cause any trouble. After 1.5 hours of military training ended, there was finally a 15-minute break. Yi Qian whistled. The 43 people in the class did not even move from their seat. They just sat there, one or two of them so tired that they could not even lift a finger. The girls leaned against each other as they rested with a look of despair on their faces. The boys, on the other hand, were more energetic than the girls. Seeing that instructor Yi Qian also sat down with them to rest, Meng Meng, who was the class monitor, wiped the sweat off her face. Her chest rose and fell as she asked Yi Qian, "Instructor, does your military academy also have to train every day? Don't you all have to go to class? Do you all have to train like us?" Chapter 46:11. Compared to the sweaty students, Yi Qian was much drier. As long as she wasn't training, she would sit cross-legged and smile. She didn't have the air of an instructor at all. She thought for a moment, then answered with a smile, "We train every day and have classes every day. But we're more inclined towards physical training. There will be training sooner or later. It's the same as you guys, but it's much more difficult." "No way. You have classes and training. Do you have time?" "Yes, so our time is spent on studying and training. We don't have Saturdays and Sundays, and we'll make full use of our time at night. We have time, but it's quite tight." Knowing that they were curious, Yi Qian didn't hide anything and answered them seriously. Now that the military was reforming, college students were being encouraged to enlist in order to improve the quality of the entire military. Military training instructors like them weren't just in charge of military training. They also had to let more college students understand the military and encourage them to enlist. Military training was part of national defense education. It could cultivate students' national defense concepts, and it also hoped that they would join the military and serve their country. Now that the boys were very interested in military schools and the military, Yi Qian would of course tell them about it. As they were talking, the third-year instructors in charge of the other two classes walked towards Yi Qian. The two of them explained their intentions. Before Yi Qian could nod, the students in the class were already clapping. "Instructor, give me one. Instructor, give me one. 111. 111. It turned out that the boys in these two classes wanted to see how the instructors stood at attention, walked in unison, and marched. They wanted to see and hoped that the instructors could satisfy their requests. These were all small requests, but the chief instructor said that they could agree to any requests to promote the military. Thus, the two instructors went to Yi Qian. Only 3 minutes had passed since the 15-minute break. Yi Qian didn't refuse. He smiled and said, "Why don't we do it together? 10 minutes is just right." "Okay. Together, together." Clap, clap, clap. The applause sounded like a tide. Yi Jian stood up and gently raised her hand to make a gesture of pressing down. The students who were cheering just now all stopped their hands and stopped talking. "Let's gather first. We're all in a state of disunity." After she finished speaking, she put the whistle to her mouth and blew it. The 43 exhausted students all stood up as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Then, the chief instructor who received the news immediately ordered the other instructors to gather the students and start the instructors' military exercise. During the military training, the students wanted to see how the instructors trained, so they would appear every time. Therefore, the chief instructor was not surprised at all. He would see it every year and was already used to it. He was just waiting for that moment to come. Everyone. Following the chief instructor's command, the students saw the instructor who was originally standing in front of their class disappear in the blink of an eye. All of them ran towards the assembly point. It was fast and fierce, and before it even started, it was already met with waves of applause. The 36 instructors took 1 minute to assemble. The chief instructor stood in front of them, his eyes blazing like torches. His voice was cold. "Attention, at ease. When the second group's command was given, the students saw the instructors in camouflage uniforms merge into one person. When they stood at attention, their voices and movements were the same. When they took a breather, they seemed to hear the sound of their pants tearing through the air. Again and again, they were done in unison. None of the instructor's footsteps were slow. When the two groups' commands were given, the surrounding students were already shocked. Chapter 46:12. Count off. 1, 2, 3, 10, 11, 20, 21, 35, 36. The voice was sonorous and powerful enough to make a hole in the ground. A simple count-off already made the surrounding freshmen feel the majestic aura. That was the sacred and inviolable military prestige of a soldier. Turn left. Who? The 36 figures turned around at the same time. At this time, they were no longer in the rhythm of 36 people, but in the same rhythm. They had become one, an unbreakable one. Turn right. Who? Crisp and neat movements, neat and uniform steps, no one messed up the rhythm. Good. Good. Cool. Instructors, you are the best. Applause and cheers came together. The 36 figures were unmoved. They maintained a serious expression and followed the commands to complete the movements. Walk in unison. Hua, their trousers rubbed against the air again, as if it caused static. 36 figures, 36 camouflage uniforms, showed the demeanor of the local soldiers in front of the freshmen who were more than 1,300 meters away. Walk in unison. Puff. The style suddenly changed, and the demeanor became a strong wind. The rhythm of every step fiercely hit the hearts of all the students. At that moment, their hearts were surging and their blood was boiling. Thunderous applause rang out once again. Everyone was clapping hard and cheering loudly. Every student was exceptionally excited when they saw this. Every student could not take their eyes off the stage. In 10 minutes, the 36 instructors completed all the contents of the military training. That was so cool. The boys couldn't take their eyes off of it, and the girls were excited. Too cool, really too cool. So cool that it was as if they had become the same as the instructors. With such a mediating agent, the following military training became particularly passionate. Even when the commands of 1, 2, 1 were close, the classes were secretly competing to see whose voice was the loudest. The morale was so high that the instructors couldn't bear to stop it. Looking at the military training in full swing, the chief instructor silently thought that there should be a lot of university students joining the army this year. University students were still very rare these days. Even if they wanted to join the army, their families would be the biggest obstacle. Thus, the local armed forces would have to do some ideological work. The reformation of the entire army was not something that could be seen overnight. It was a long process to improve the overall quality of the entire army. The most important thing was perseverance. For the entire afternoon, the freshmen's morale was high. When the military training ended at 5:30 p.m., there were actually some students who wondered how time passed so quickly. Why did it end before it even started? At 5:30, the sun was not as scorching as it was at noon. There was even a cool breeze blowing. After a day of military training, the students started to sing the target shooting song. Their voices got louder and louder. It was no longer singing but roaring. Yi Qian looked at the youthful faces filled with vigor, and a smile as bright as the morning sun appeared in her eyes. After a day of military training, she felt the joy of training outside the school. After dinner, the setting sun spread across the entire sky like a fire. Groups of freshmen rushed to the military training site in their already dried camouflage uniforms. They didn't want to miss the highlight of the upcoming event. After dinner, Yi Qian returned to room 405 to wash her face and wipe the sweat off her body. She planned to go to the field. At this time, the female dormitory was relatively quiet. Most of the students had gone to the field. Perhaps they didn't come back from their walk after dinner. Yi Qian met a few groups of girls from the first floor to the fourth floor. She smiled and walked towards room 405. Before she pushed open the door, she suddenly heard a sharp scream from downstairs. "Thief, catch the thief! Catch the thief!" Chapter 46:13. Huang Yuan didn't even know how she got out of the dormitory and walked to the military training area. She walked in a daze and stood still in a daze. She was like an electric pole that had lost all her senses. She couldn't accept any sound from the outside world. When Tseng Kan and the others saw her coming, their expressions changed slightly. Some of them lowered their heads and bit their lips before silently getting up to distance themselves from the boys. "Huang Yuan is here," one of the boys suddenly blurted out, and the other boys immediately turned their heads to look, their eyes filled with obvious excitement. "Let's go and talk to her. Damn, I just found out that she's the provincial Sonda champion. Such an amazing resource must go on stage. It's more convenient for a girl to go on stage. We need to know if she's willing." Of course she's willing. Who doesn't want to be lazy during military training? If I know Sonda, I'll be the first to go. Should we let the girls ask her first? That's fine too. Let the girls in her dormitory ask. Tao Yi, what do you say? Tao Yi, who was using his camouflage uniform as a fan, looked at the tall Huang Yuan and smiled. Sure, let's ask if she agrees first. When the time comes, we still need to see if the instructor agrees. Ha ha ha, aren't we leaving a way out? If you lose, we still have Huang Yuan to go on stage. Will I lose? TSK. Tao Yiran smiled and punched the boy's shoulder. It wasn't heavy. It was just a close friendship. Because he would be sparring with Yi Qian tonight, he became the most popular boy in the class. He also made the entire class remember this ordinary-looking boy who had the halo of being the national taekwondo runner-up. His confidence made the boys and girls around him laugh. The night breeze blew gently and the laughter was clear. It made Huang Yuan, who was standing there in a daze, come back to her senses. When she heard the laughter coming from the class, Huang Yuan's eyes suddenly darkened. She glared fiercely at Tao Yi, who was in the laughing crowd. Damn! You're still laughing. You still have time to laugh. Let's see how you're going to laugh later. Huang Yuan, who was filled with resentment, wanted to rush over and beat Tao Yi until he was sent to the infirmary. Based on her temper yesterday, she would immediately take action. But now, she couldn't do it. There was an instructor who she felt would kill her. She had to endure it, endure it. He endured it with all his might. Unable to bear it any longer, he finally left. Huang Yuan, who had to endure because she was afraid of Yi Qian, didn't want to stand there anymore. She turned around, intending to find a place to be alone. Hey, why did she leave? Tao Yi, quickly chase after her. F***ck, why are you chasing him alone? Let's chase him together. Tao Yi smiled and elbowed the boy who was obviously speaking on purpose. Although he said that, he still stood up. The other boys all understood the meaning behind the deliberate tone, and they all laughed. The laughter reached Huang Yuan's ears and urged her to walk faster, as if she was running away. Laugh, laugh, laugh my ass. Did they all think that Tao Yi would win? Win my ass. Huang Yuan fiercely muttered, a bunch of idiots still want to win. Suddenly, Tao Yi's voice came from behind her. Huang Yuan, stop for a moment. We have something to discuss with you. F***ck. I don't want to talk to you. Huang Yuan, who didn't want to deal with them at all, walked even faster. This time, she really looked like she was running away. F***ck, why is she running? Why are you running so fast? Did you not hear it? Quickly chase after her. It's almost 7 o'clock. It'll be too late if you don't tell her. Chapter 46:14. Tao Yi took the lead and chased after her. He really wanted to spar with the provincial champion. If Huang Yuan didn't want to spar with the instructor, the two of them could also spar. Anyway, it was a relaxing time at night. It was good to show off a few moves and add some liveliness to the class. The other students were thinking about how to slack off in the military training, but Tao Yi was thinking even further. He wanted to let more students know about him, remember him, and gain recognition. It would be of great help to his future development. Huang Yuan thought, "Don't King follow me. Get lost." In the end, Huang Yuan didn't escape. The boys behind her kept calling her name. She wasn't deaf. She must have heard it. It would be obvious if she ran again. She turned around, crossed her arms, and glared fiercely at the 3 boys who chased after her. "What are you doing? If you have something to say, say it." Her unfriendly gaze and tone made the 3 boys stunned. They didn't seem to have done anything. "Sorry to take up 2 minutes of your time. Isn't Tao Yi sparring with the instructor tonight? I heard from the girls that you're the provincial champion. I want you to spar with the instructor. We'll prepare for both sides. If one doesn't work, the other one will." Huang Yuan waved her fist, and her eyes became fiercer. "I want to beat someone up right now. Don't drag me down if you want to die. Get out of my way. Don't chase after me again. No discussion." She knew it was nothing good. They wanted to use her as a cushion. During the day she thought that Tao Yi might also beat Instructor Yi. Now, she saw Instructor Yi slide down from the 4th floor to the 1st floor with a whoosh while hugging a drainage pipe. He pinned the thief down in a single move and won in less than 3 seconds. Just like that, Tao Yi wanted to beat Instructor Yi? Dream on. A bunch of idiots, even stupider than her. Before she offended someone, she had to look at the other party's clothes, speech, and chopstick. These people were great. Damn it. They directly issued a challenge to Instructor Yi. Want to die? Don't drag her down. Huang Yuan gnashed her teeth and glared fiercely at Tao Yi. She angrily rushed back to her class's training area. The boys. F***ck. Did she eat explosives? We didn't offend her. So cruel. Forget it, her temper is like that. Yesterday, the girls were saying that Huang Yuan was domineering and unreasonable, bullying the girls in the same dormitory as soon as she came in. It seems that it's true. Tao Yi, who was being glared at, saw that the other 2 boys didn't look good. He patted their shoulders and comforted them. "You guys are okay. I'm the most innocent one. She glared at me. It's fine if she doesn't agree. She's a girl after all. Let's give in to her." He didn't make a fuss about it, but he was a little displeased. What they didn't know was that as soon as they walked away, a few girls from other classes passed by. They all turned into fangirls and talked about their Instructor Yi. There was nothing else but his handsomeness. He was even more handsome than the male instructors. He was so handsome that he wanted to run to Instructor Ye's class and be trained by her. The incident happened in the girls' dormitory. The boys knew nothing about it, and not everyone in the girls' dormitory knew about it. Only the girls in 3 or 4 classes knew about it. They went back to their classes to spread the news, and it caused waves of exclamations in the class. "No way! Did you see it with your own eyes?" The boys didn't believe it, and their faces were full of doubt. The girl who saw it with her own eyes nodded vigorously. I saw it. You guys don't know, but when Instructor Yi heard that there was a thief, she directly hugged the drainage pipe outside the wall and slid down with a whoosh. I ran to the fence to take a look. Instructor Yi blocked the thief, and then the thief was thrown down by Instructor Yi. Chapter 46:15. The girl who saw it with her own eyes had stars twinkling in her eyes. She was lucky to have been there the whole time, so she saw it clearly. Another girl said, "I didn't see how Instructor Yi came down from the 4th floor. I was on the 1st floor and the thief passed by me. I didn't react at all, and then Instructor Yi appeared and knocked down the thief? Oh my God! He's so handsome that I fell in love with Instructor Yi instantly." "Don't be too handsome. Too handsome. I'm so stunned." The girls were stunned by Instructor Ye's handsomeness. As the boys swallowed their saliva, They silently thought of another matter and silently prayed for the boy who was brave enough to challenge Instructor Yi. Should we tell the class in advance? They should know by now. It's okay if they don't tell us. What if they don't want to compete? Then we won't be able to see Instructor Ye's handsome skills? Forget it, let's not talk about it. It's too late to talk about it now. The instructors are all here. In the light green smoke, a row of majestic figures walked over. They were the 36 instructors in charge of their military training. They were led by the chief instructor to the training location on time. Yi Qian handed the thief to the security office and rushed to their assembly point to prepare for departure. A thief entering a university. This was the first time she had encountered such a thing. In the National Science University, such a thing would never happen. However, it was common in higher education. Even during the first few days of school, thieves would disguise themselves as parents and sneak into the campus, waiting for an opportunity to strike. The thief she had just caught had disguised himself as a student's parent and sneaked into the campus. He had avoided the dormitory teacher and entered the female dormitory to strike. Yi Qian was also very surprised to encounter such a thing. There were still 5 minutes to 7 o'clock. Yi Qian walked to the class she was in charge of. As soon as she walked over, she was greeted with a burst of warm applause. Yi Qian almost misunderstood that it was because she had caught the thief. In the end, it wasn't. They were waiting for the upcoming competition, so they were very excited. They were grateful for her open-mindedness as an instructor. She gave them the chance to be in charge. Yi Qian smiled at this. All the freshmen knew that Yi Qian would compete with the military training students and obtain more than 1,300 points, including the teachers of Xiang University. Therefore, originally, the sparring was only held in the military training area, but now it was held in a large field. All the students formed a circle, and the surroundings were illuminated by snow-white lights. The school even arranged for a teacher to come out and host the sparring, instantly making the scene even more lively. Now, let us use a warm round of applause to welcome Instructor Yi from 3rd Company and Student Tao Yi from 3rd Company. After the hosting teacher finished speaking with a smile, the entire sports field erupted into a wave of applause. Instructor Yi! Instructor Yi! You're the most! You're the most! Instructor Yi, I love you! I love you! Instructor Yi, Instructor Yi, I want to confess to you. Love you, classmate, you're a girl, and you're from the 1st Company. How did you cross the class to fall in love with Instructor Yi? The host teacher was used to stirring up the atmosphere. When she heard countless girls confessing to Yi Qian at the top of their voices, she simply chose a random girl and passed the microphone to her. Come. This student, tell us how you fell in love with Instructor Yi? Instructor Yi, my name is Luing. I can sing and dance, and I can play the guitar. I love you, Instructor Yi. You were so cool when you caught the thief today. You were so cool that I let you win. As soon as the girl, Luing, finished speaking, there were many confessions around her. They were all, Instructor Yi, you're so cool. You're so cool. You're so cool that I fell in love with you, and so on. Chapter 46:16. There were both boys and girls. The other students who didn't know about the thief incident all knew about it. Wow! With the microphone in hand, I have a confession. The sound was like a waterfall falling from a high cliff, reaching everyone's ears with the force of 10,000 horses galloping. The entire field was filled with all kinds of excited voices. Screams, shouts, whistles. The scene was so hot that it could make one's ears explode. The instructors were also dumbfounded. This kind of momentum, forgive them for not having seen it before. There was such a thing? She even dared to confess like this. The instructors who saw it for the first time raised their hands to wipe their sweat. Yi Qian student, wherever you go, you'll become popular. A spare microphone was handed to Yi Qian. She cleared her throat, then smiled and said, I'm sorry, it's my first time being confessed to by a girl, so I'm still a little shocked. Thank you for liking us. We also like you very much. Instructor, are you shy? Ha ha ha, Instructor Yi is shy. Instructor Yi, your voice is very nice. Can you sing another song later? Instructor Yi, I love you. The waves of heat came one after another. The teacher hosting the event didn't dare to pass the microphone to the students anymore. He quickly took it back and laughed loudly. Students, do you still want to watch Instructor Yi and Student Tao Yi's martial arts meet? If you want to watch, then you'll have to be quiet. The instructors in charge of military training also stood up and whistled to signal the students to be quiet. With the instructors out, the waves of heat instantly receded, leaving only the lingering sound of the music echoing in the field. When the chief instructor saw this, he smiled so widely that he revealed his white teeth. Student Yi Qian was really warmly welcomed wherever she went. It was a pity that such an outstanding student was not in school. What a pity, what a pity, what a pity. The students in Yi Qian's class were a little confused. Their instructor caught a thief? When did this happen? Why did the students in the other classes know that their instructor caught a thief, but why didn't anyone in their class know? The class was abuzz with discussion. Only Huang Yuan didn't participate. Participate my ass. She had already warned them and even raised objections. Who would listen to her? Forget it if they didn't listen. Even if she was tired after 10 days of military training, she wouldn't collapse. The boisterous voices gradually died down. Under the whistles of the instructors, discipline was quickly brought under control. Yi Qian, who was standing in the field, extended his hand and said with a smile, "Please give me your guidance." Tao Yi, who had calmed down a little, reached out his hand and took it. He smiled calmly and said, "Please advise me." "Not bad, you have a good mentality." Yi Jian smiled and withdrew her hand. The chief instructor stood in the middle and waited for them to finish shaking hands. Then, he approached Yi Qian and whispered, "Don't be too fierce. Show mercy." Yi Qian nodded slightly. Only then did the chief instructor announce the rules of the competition. The winner was to hit the opponent's vital points 3 times and press them down 3 times within 10 seconds. With the sharp whistle of the chief instructor, which represented the beginning of the competition, the atmosphere in the field, which was illuminated by the snow-white headlights as if it was daytime, suddenly became tense. It had begun. The students in Yi Qian's class all clenched their fists. They were so nervous that they held their breaths. "Tao Yi, come on, come on, ah!" Before they could finish saying the words, "come on," in their hearts, Tao Yi, who was the hope of the whole class, was pressed down by Instructor Yi. I. Damn it. Did anyone see clearly how Tao Yi was pressed down? Song Jiqiu said to the student in charge of the training, "Instructor Yi, even our chief instructor wouldn't issue a challenge. Do you think that boy can win?" The whole class was silent. Fortunately, it was not their class. Or not. Chapter 46-17. Many of the students watching from the sidelines were still in a daze, especially those who were talking with their heads down. Their attention was not on the field. Suddenly, they heard some noise around them and looked up in confusion. Why did that guy fall down before it even started? Did he slip? A student who was distracted asked the student next to him in amusement. The student rolled his eyes. "What do you mean he slipped and fell? Didn't you see?" "I didn't see. He was just warming up." "Warming up? The first round is already over." "It's over. I didn't even see it." The student who didn't see it was surprised. The other students in the class rolled their eyes again. Who else could they blame for not seeing it? It was their own fault. The students who saw it were no better than those who didn't. They were confused, surprised, dumbfounded, stunned. In short, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe what they saw. They couldn't believe that the first round was over before it even started. They couldn't believe that the Taekwondo national runner-up was knocked down by the instructor in less than 5 seconds. They were going crazy. They were going crazy. In less than 5 seconds, their instructor knocked Tao Yi down. The surveying and mapping engineering students were more confused than any other class. They found it harder to accept what they saw. It must be because Tao Yi wasn't prepared. It must be. Otherwise, how could he have lost so quickly? Tao Yi, you can do it. Tao Yi, you can do it. You're the best. Tao Yi, you're a good brother. You're the best. Tao Yi, you can do it. The boy who reacted first shouted again. Bro, you have to hold on. You're the hope of our class's military training. You have to hold on. As the boys shouted, the girls followed suit. Tao Yi, whose face was red from the fall, finally felt less embarrassed. Just now, he really didn't know how he was knocked down by the instructor. Just as he lifted his leg to sweep it out, his instructor grabbed the ankle of the leg. He swept out with one hand. Then, he fell to the ground. Instant knockout. Yi Qian pulled the stunned boy up from the ground and said with a smile, Tao Yi, this is a competition. You need to show the attitude you should have during the competition. Don't be careless, understand? Instructor. Tao Yi jumped up from the outstretched hand and made a handsome gesture of brushing the hair in front of his forehead. After taking a step back, he quickly walked out of the embarrassment and said calmly, Instructor Yi, be careful. In the end, he was still a contestant who had experienced the competition. When he realized that he had underestimated his opponent, he immediately stopped panicking. Instead, he immediately calmed down and prepared for the next round. Just now, he had underestimated his opponent and thought that he could easily take down the instructor. Who would have thought? In the dark, Tao Yi's eyes darkened slightly. He bit his cheeks. He had to get back at them, but he couldn't lose face for the instructor. Seeing his expression, Yi Qian smiled and replied calmly, I've always been careful. His gaze swept over Tao Yi's right leg. As he smiled, a hint of sharpness flashed through the corner of his eyes. In the first round, because of Tao Yi's carelessness, she won in a second. From now on, Tao Yi wouldn't act like he did in the first round. It could be seen from his eyes just now that as the Taekwondo runner-up, he wouldn't allow himself to lose too badly. The head instructor whistled and loudly announced that Yi Qian had won the first round. Thunderous applause sounded again. The instructors, who were about to be promoted to the 4th year, couldn't help but distance themselves from the class they were in charge of. They were too enthusiastic, so enthusiastic that they stopped in their tracks. Chapter 46:18. Song Jiqiu said to her classmates, Guys, are you going to betray us and join the 3rd class of the 3rd company? We are from the 2nd class of the 1st company. Ha ha ha, instructor, are you jealous? Ha ha ha, you can have a competition with Instructor Yi. We'll definitely support you. Song Jiqiu took a step back and said seriously, No, I want to live for a few more years. Which one of you is not afraid of death? I'll support you. Humph, her classmates despised her deeply. After a day of getting along with her, they all knew that Song Jiqiu, who was in charge of the military training of their class, was a humorous instructor. The boys liked her, and the girls liked her even more. The boys liked Song Jiqiu's humor, and the girls liked her face. She was handsome. Among all the male instructors, Instructor Song was the most handsome one. Instructor, does Instructor Yi have a boyfriend? Are there a lot of people chasing after Instructor Yi on your side? She is so beautiful, and the military academy is a place where men are abundant and women are scarce. She must have many admirers. Song Jiqiu raised her head and sighed. Wrong, very wrong. No one dares to pursue our Instructor Yi. No way. Why? Don't tell me you don't like Instructor Yi? Wrong again. Because we are not allowed to fall in love. After Song Jiqiu finished speaking, her classmates laughed mercilessly. Some boys even jeered. Instructor Song, Aren't you afraid that Instructor Yi will be pursued by the boys of Xiang University? Ha ha ha, it's so pitiful. We can't fall in love in high school, and we still can't fall in love in college. Life is about pursuit. Be serious. Be serious. Our pursuit in life is to protect our country, give up our children for love, and keep our families together. Small love becomes big love, and our thinking is sublimated. Instructor Yi has been in the military academy for 3 years. All her time is training, experiments, and maneuvers. How can she have time to fall in love? You can't talk about it casually. Be careful. Disaster comes from careless talk. She said it half seriously and half jokingly, which made the jeering boys and girls shut their mouths silently and stop making trouble. They were all big kids. They should know when to stop talking about something. Song Jiqiu did not want to spread the news that Yi Qian had been pursued by a boy of Xiang University after the military training. She should stop the gossip when necessary. Otherwise, the gossip would not spread inexplicably. Fortunately, this group of students also knew when to stop. Thus, the topic passed, and no one brought it up again. The instructors of the other classes had encountered similar situations. Before the military training, the chief instructor had warned them that there must not be any rumors of an instructor and a student being in a relationship. Therefore, whenever a sensitive topic was brought up, the instructor would immediately suppress it. Other jokes could be laughed at, but this kind of joke that would have a great impact could not be allowed to grow and spread. Outside the venue, countless female students were still screaming, "Instructor Yi is so handsome, Instructor Yi, I love you." The host teacher turned on the microphone and said with a smile, "Instructor Yi, you're very popular." Everyone thought that he was asking Instructor Yi, but who knew that the hosting teacher was so naughty? After he asked Tao Yi, "Student Tao Yi, are you sure you can win against your Instructor Yi?" Tao Yi, who was not prepared, was stunned for a few seconds. Soon, he came to himself. A confident smile appeared on his young and energetic face. Of course, his classmates thought he would say, of course. There was another round of encouraging screams. Chapter 46:19. Student Tao Yi mischievously replied, "Of course not. I was defeated by Instructor Yi in seconds just now, and I still have lingering fears. I thought I could win, so I dared to spar with Instructor Yi. Now, is it too late for me to regret?" This was a boy with a high EQ. He wanted to win, but he didn't want to embarrass the instructor, nor did he want the instructor to have a problem with him. Therefore, he showed weakness first to show respect. At the same time, he wasn't completely confident that he could win. To prevent himself from losing too many times, he might as well embarrass himself first. Not only did he tell his classmates that he might not win, but he could also find a way out of his loss. The reason why the hosting teacher asked him was to give him a way out of the embarrassing situation. The smart boy understood and quickly resolved any possible awkwardness. Yi Qian, who was standing at the side, smiled slightly. It was a joy to interact with someone with a high EQ. The students below were laughing so hard that they couldn't stop. They cupped their hands around their mouths and shouted, "It's too late! Ha ha ha, bro, bite the bullet! Bro, our happiness is all in your hands. How can you regret it? Don't regret it. Charge forward boldly." The students from the surveying and mapping engineering were the loudest, fiercest, and happiest. Huang Yan, who was sitting, twitched the corner of her mouth. She finally didn't have such a big problem with Tao Yi. Fortunately, he knew his limit. If he dared to talk nonsense again, she really wouldn't be able to hold back and beat him up. The second round began with the chief instructor blowing the steel whistle. There were shouts of "Go Instructor Yi, Instructor Yi, you're the best," and "Go Tao Yi, you're the best." It was very lively, a liveliness that made people feel relaxed both physically and mentally. Even the night breeze that blew over brought a pleasant feeling, refreshing to the heart. Tao Yi didn't act as carelessly as before. He clenched his fists and began to carefully test the waters. In the end, he suddenly closed in and punched quickly and fiercely towards Yi Qian's face. Yi Qian's fighting skills were all about killing moves. She basically didn't waste her energy on probing moves like this. A fist with a strong gust of wind rushed toward Yi Qian's face. The corners of Yi Qian's mouth curled up slightly as he stepped back and tilted his head, easily dodging Tao Yi's attack. Tao Yi didn't expect to hit his target with his first punch. At the same time, his competitive spirit was completely aroused. He began to treat this competition seriously. Seeing that his attack had missed, he immediately retracted his fist. At the same time, he let out a low growl. He lifted his leg and leaped towards Yi Qian to kick him. Wow! When the moves with a certain degree of difficulty were revealed, the students outside the field all stared with their eyes wide open. Some students even exclaimed out loud, "So cool! It could even bounce up and kick." Huang Yan, who was sitting casually, straightened her body. She finally stopped curling her lips and wearing a disdainful expression. Instead, she focused on watching. The national runner-up in Taekwondo was indeed something. Even she had seen it, let alone the other students. Someone lightly touched her shoulder and a boy whispered, "Between you and Tao Yi, who's stronger?" "Boring." Huang Yan answered in her heart and simply sat down. She didn't want to talk to the boy who asked her. Who knew who was stronger when they hadn't competed? The boy who hit a wall felt quite awkward. He only asked because he knew that Huang Yan practiced Sanda. Who knew she wouldn't even bother with him? Chapter 46-20. The exclamation sounded again. Huang Yan saw Tao Yi kick 3 times in a row. Each kick was very powerful, and their instructor dodged it very easily. He didn't even face Tao Yi directly. Outsiders thought that Tao Yi forced Instructor Yi to retreat. Only insiders like Huang Yan knew that Instructor Yi didn't use his full strength at all. Is he going to win? Is Tao Yi going to win? Damn. I knew this kid could do it. Don't get excited, don't get excited. The result is not out yet. Don't get excited. Tao Yi can't win. Instructor Yi didn't even make a move. Idiot. Huang Yan snorted coldly and used the smallest voice to express her disdain for the students around her. She thought that she was the only one who heard it. In fact, it wasn't. At least the students around her heard it clearly. Huang Yan said that Tao Yi couldn't win Instructor Yi. Was it true? How could she tell? Instructor Yi was beaten by Tao Yi until she couldn't fight back. Tao Yi really can't win Instructor Yi? You're not mistaken, are you? Instructor Yi is clearly being forced back by Tao Yi and can't even fight back. A boy who heard it didn't give up and asked Huang Yan, "He can't fight back. You said Tao Yi can't win Instructor Yi?" Huang Yan turned her head and looked at the boy who came closer. Her face showed obvious disdain. Instructor Yi is retreating in order to advance. She needs to grasp the speed of Tao Yi's punches and kicks, as well as his attacking habits. So, she's just testing. Also, you only saw Instructor Yi being forced back by Tao Yi. Didn't you see that Tao Yi didn't hit Instructor Yi at all? Instructor Yi is saving face for Tao Yi. You still have the face to say that Tao Yi can win. It'll be strange if he can win. The boy's expression changed again and again when he heard Huang Yan's merciless comment. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. Really? Fake. Don't ask me again. Noisy. Huang Yan retorted. Her patience was limited. Don't challenge her patience. Boy. Damn, this is the girl with the worst temper I've ever seen. No wonder she could quarrel with her roommate on the first day of registration. Forget it, a real man doesn't fight with a woman. Turning around, the boy told Huang Yan's words to the classmate next to him. Then, the classmate next to him told the classmate next to him. After a while, most of the students knew that Huang Yan said that Tao Yi couldn't win against Instructor Yi. Impossible. Taekwondo's national runner-up. Everyone has their own specialties. It's impossible that he can't beat Instructor Yi. That's right. Look, Instructor Yi hasn't fought back yet. How could he not win? Did Huang Yan say that on purpose because she didn't play? She was the one who didn't want to spar with Instructor Yi. She couldn't have said that on purpose. She's learned Sanda, so she's more knowledgeable than us. Also, I feel that what she said makes sense. Instructor Yi has indeed been retreating, but Tao Yi hasn't kicked Instructor Yi even once. Facts spoke louder than words. There was no need for too much explanation. Seeing it with his own eyes would tell whether it was true or false. Tao Yi, who had missed several kicks in a row, knew in his heart that Instructor Yi was not so easy to deal with. Fortunately, he had adjusted himself just now so that the students would be prepared for his loss. This way, if he lost, it wouldn't be so embarrassing. But it was impossible for him to admit defeat immediately. Chapter 46-21. Tao Yi's expression changed as he attacked again. At this moment, he was the Tao Yi who was fighting for his name in the competition. He wanted to win. If he wanted to win, he had to defeat his opponent. Yi Qian admired students with personalities like Tao Yi. He met the blade head-on and never gave up. Seeing the speed of his kicks increase, he knew he was going all out. And she had more or less seen through Tao Yi's moves. It was her turn to attack. Tao Yi, have a good fight with me. Don't hold back. Before they started, Yi Qian reminded him with a smile. Then, without waiting for Tao Yi's reply, she started her counterattack. Compared to Tao Yi's kicks, Yi Qian's punches and kicks were so fast that even an outsider could see the difference in strength between them. Wow, when Instructor Yi is so handsome, the other instructors really can't compare. Oh my God, my heart, my little heart, quick, quick, help me up. I can't take it, it's going to explode. Get lost, don't block my sight. Handsome, too handsome. What should I do? I want to chase after Instructor Yi. Get lost, you're still a little short. In the white light, Yi Qian's figure was like a cold sword drawn from its scabbard. Wrapped in an imposing manner, it was as if he could see the outcome in an instant. Tao Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was startled by Yi Jian's gaze. It's over, it's over. We're definitely going to lose. I didn't expect our instructor to be so secretive. I couldn't tell he was an expert at all. If you lose, you lose. It's just for entertainment. Don't take it to heart. Look, even Yu Ji, who suggested the idea, stopped talking. Isn't that right, Yu Ji? Yu Ji forced out a stiff smile. Yeah, if you lose, you lose. It's not shameful to lose to an instructor, right? He had already given up hope that Tao Yi could win. Yeah, it's not shameful. I don't care about winning or losing now. I only care about how our instructor Yi is so handsome. Quick, quick, look, he's in the air. Damn. He's really in the air. In the arena, Yi Qian stopped probing and attacked. For Tao Yi to be able to get second place, his body was indeed not bad. His speed and strength were all very accurate. Moreover, her moves were all ruthless. She only attacked to take his life. No matter how nimble Tao Yi was, he was no threat to her since she had already found his flaws. Of course, it was impossible for her to use the same ruthlessness she used on her enemies to deal with a student. It was only a spar, and she would stop when the time came. She threw 2 consecutive side kicks into the air. On the second side kick, Tao Yi's legs were swept by her, and the tall and big boy was knocked down again. F***CK. The instructor knocked Tao Yi down again. The boy who spoke was shocked from head to toe. His eyes widened as he stared at the domineering figure again and again. He exclaimed, "She's really amazing and very handsome. This is the most handsome and beautiful girl I've ever seen." The girls screamed again. The sound waves were louder and more enthusiastic than before, forcing the other instructors to take a few steps back again so that their eardrums would suffer less. Tao E, who was knocked down, did not immediately admit defeat. He still wanted to struggle to get up, but his hands were like iron pliers. The more he struggled, the tighter the grip became. In the end, even his shoulder and ribs hurt. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. Time's up. The instructor wins. This time, the teacher in charge of the competition announced the number. After 10 was announced, Yi Qian immediately let go of Tao Yi's hands. Outside the arena, it was like boiling water, everyone was boiling. Ah! Instructor Yi. Look here, I love you. Instructor Yi. Instructor Yi, you're so handsome. You're the most handsome instructor I've ever seen. Instructor Yi, you're amazing. Chapter 46-22. The hosting teacher also shouted, "Then do you guys submit?" Submit. They were all in unison. Do you admit defeat? Submit. Do you still dare to challenge the instructor in the future? We don't dare. The hosting teacher asked again, "Then do you still want to compete?" Yes. Not anymore. This time, their answers were different. Amidst the screams, Yi Qian smiled at Tao E and said, "You're very strong. You almost broke free. Fortunately, I was prepared." Although Tao E, who knew the difference in strength, was mentally prepared to lose, he was still somewhat disappointed when the result really came out. Hearing this, he scratched the back of his head embarrassedly. "I'm sorry, instructor. It's all my fault for wasting your time. No, I also wanted to spar with you. Also, you're very skilled. It's just that our paths are different. I believe you can see some clues." That was true. Tao E thought of the gaze that scared him just now. Now that he thought about it again, there was still a lingering fear in his heart. That gaze, really. If he had seen it before, he definitely would not have proposed to spar with the instructor. Just that gaze alone would have made him back down. There was no need to compete in the third round. The results were out, so it was better to have some other entertainment. The chief instructor whispered a few words to the hosting teacher. Yi Qian and Tao E returned to class amidst the cheers. At this moment, Yi Qian truly felt how passionate the students were. Their gazes were so hot that they almost roasted her. When she returned to class, she received an unprecedented welcome. Yi Qian smiled and said, "Students, for the next 9 days of military training, you have no conditions to raise with me. And I will not agree to any of your conditions. Military training is for national defense education. There is no such thing as slacking off, and there are no shortcuts. I hope you can remember this. I also hope that these 10 days of military training will bring you a different experience. No matter how magnificent the days ahead are, military training will always be the most beautiful scenery in your memories. And all of you are the most beautiful scenery in my military career that I will never forget. Instructor Yi, you are now the most beautiful scenery in all of our hearts." The sweet-mouthed boy shouted out loudly, so the students followed suit and shouted. Yi Qian revealed his purest smile. His eyes were bright and his teeth were white, just like the most beautiful moon in the sky. That momentary smile also became the most beautiful scene in the hearts of the students. Later on, when someone saw the general who had been awarded the highest medal in the military on TV, they could even recognize that the general was once their military training instructor. After this exchange, the restless students in the class all put away their thoughts and didn't dare to have any ideas of teasing the instructor. Especially when they returned to the dormitory at night, they heard the instructor slide from the 4th floor to the 1st floor in a few seconds while hugging the drainage pipe and taking down the thief in 3 seconds. The awe that arose spontaneously made them even more afraid to move. Even the students from the other classes became very well behaved and did not dare to be overly mischievous. Tao E listened for a long time before saying, "If I had known earlier, I definitely wouldn't have sparred with Instructor Yi." Yu, who was in the same dormitory as him, struggled internally for a long time. In the end, he still told the whole dormitory about his experience. In exchange, all the boys in the dormitory were silent for a long time. In the end, they all cursed with the word F***ck to end the night. If they had known earlier, they definitely wouldn't have pushed Tao E out for the competition. Did you guys know? Huang Yan was the only student who objected to you sparring with Instructor Yi. Tell me, do you think she knows something? Before the lights went out, a boy said in a low voice, otherwise, why would she be so resistant when we went looking for her? Chapter 46-23. Huang Yan's refusal to spar with the instructor was no secret in the class. At that time, the refusal didn't take long to spread. There were even a few boys in the class who had some opinions. In addition, she made a scene in the dormitory on the first and second day. Although the class had only been in for 3 days, the boys' impression of Huang Yan was very average. Now that Huang Yan was mentioned, the boys in Tao E and Yu Ji's dormitory were silent. Yu Ji, who had been silent for a long time, softly said, "The girls said that Huang Yan was very arrogant, but since the military training began, Huang Yan never dared to confront Instructor Yi. All of us agreed, but she was the only one who opposed. She must know that Instructor Yi is very powerful, so she didn't dare. Aren't I hunchbacked?" During the day, Instructor Yi spread her hands on both sides of my shoulders. At that time, it was so painful that I almost thought my bones were cracked. Later, she gently patted Huang Yan's back. Huang Yan was so scared that her whole body fell forward, and the 2 girls in front of her were also scared and fell together. Sigh. Brothers, actually, from that time on, I already had a bad feeling. When it came to the matter of the day, Yu Ji simply finished in one breath. Huang Yan is the provincial Sanda champion. She is tall, strong, and can fight. She is also in the same dormitory as Instructor Yi. Instructor Yi just patted her lightly and she was scared like that. Brothers, she must have known that Instructor Yi was powerful, but at that time, all of us were too lazy to think about it. A boy immediately said, "Damn, I didn't hear you say that." Yu Ji was embarrassed. "How could I have the face to say that? Do you still want the face of a man? If you had said that earlier, I would still have sparred with Instructor Yi." Tao E answered. His voice sounded very light, and he was not affected by it at all. Not everyone has the opportunity to exchange pointers with the instructor. The boy sleeping on the top bunk of Tao E leaned out and smiled. "Then don't think about it. It's not shameful to lose to an instructor." Tao E, who was not sleepy, smiled and replied, "I'm fine, you guys don't think too much. Instructor Ye's way is different from mine. It's normal to lose to her. In the future, we'd better be honest. Don't be lazy in front of Instructor Yi. Don't think that she's easy to bully because she's a girl. Take it easy and honestly finish the 9-day military training." Tao E, who was speaking with his eyes closed, recalled the scene of the fight. Every time he recalled it, the first thing that came to his mind was that pair of eyes filled with ruthlessness. Those eyes were very, very cold and piercing to the bone. That kind of eyes, he would never forget them for the rest of his life. Even you can't beat Instructor Yi. How would we dare to play any tricks? Why is Instructor Yi so powerful? I really couldn't tell. Who can tell? If he could see that, he wouldn't have let Tao E play. Tonight, our Instructor Yi became famous in one battle. Even the girls went crazy, not to mention the boys. Do you think there will be boys who will confess to Instructor Yi when the military training ends? Ha ha, definitely. Now I feel that Instructor Yi is not beautiful, but handsome. Graceful as a swan, graceful as a dragon. Whoever can become Instructor Ye's boyfriend will be blessed. When it came to the topic that all the boys were interested in, the bed was turned over and made a squeaking sound. It was not only the boys in the dormitory who were turning over and chatting, but also the other dormitories. Except for the boys' dormitory, the girls' dormitory did not fall asleep immediately. They were all talking about the military training. Chapter 46-24. As for Yi Qian catching the thief, all the freshmen knew about it. The girls who saw it with their own eyes became the best microphones, repeating the events of the evening over and over again. Every time they heard that Yi Qian had rushed out from the 4th floor and slid down to the 1st floor while hugging the drainage pipe on the outer wall, there would always be a series of gasps. Some girls deliberately ran to the 4th floor to look at the drainage pipe, then glanced at the 1st floor before returning to their dorms with a heavy head and light feet. It was terrifying. The drainage pipe on the outer wall was not something that could be touched with one's hand. One had to stand on top of the cement railing, raise one's hands and feet at the same time, and hang one's entire body in the air to barely touch the drainage pipe. Then, how did Instructor Yi reach the drainage pipe on top of the railing? The most qualified person to answer this question was Huang Yan. She was the one closest to Yi Qian at the time. She was so close that she saw how Yi Qian climbed onto the railing with both hands, and how he jumped from the railing that was 4 stories high. There was a certain distance between him and the drainage pipe. If he was not careful, he would have fallen from the 4th floor. She saw it all clearly. It was late at night. Even the noises of the night insects were much quieter. Only the night sky and stars shone brightly. The door to dorm 405 was gently and slowly pulled open. A sturdy figure squeezed out from the gap. The size of the gap was estimated wrongly, so it was pushed to the side. It had to be pulled open a little more before it could be smoothly squeezed out. In the dorm, Yi Qian, who was sleeping on the outermost wooden bed, saw the black figure get up and squeeze through the gap. There was a faint smile in his eyes. Huang Yan, who had become timid, was not as arrogant as she was a few days ago. Overall, she was not bad. In the past, she was spoiled too much by her family, so she had developed a domineering personality where only she had the final say. Now that she was far away from her family and had lost her parents, she had to face the fact that not everyone would go along with her, spoil her, and acknowledge her. It was not a bad thing for Huang Yan to realize the difference between society and family in school. But it was already 11:30. Why was she sneaking out? After some thought, Yi Qian also got up from his bed. Huang Yan was standing at the spot where Yi Qian had climbed up the drainage pipe during the day. Her hands were on the railing made of cement. After taking a few deep breaths, the nimble Huang Yan climbed up the railing and sat on it. She then hugged the wall with both hands and slowly stood up. Her legs were trembling. When she glanced at the 1st floor, not only were her legs trembling, even her hands, which were supporting herself against the wall, were trembling. Oh my God! So tall, Huang Yan then looked at the drainage pipe that was an arm's length away. Her legs were trembling. She closed her eyes and took deep breaths until she felt less scared. Then, she slowly, as if she was moving in slow motion towards the drainage pipe, Huang Yan's tall and strong body lost balance on one arm, and her body fell out of control. Huang Yan was so scared that she broke out in a cold sweat. She immediately retracted her trembling hand and hugged the wall with both hands again. Cold sweat had already formed on her forehead. Yi Qian, who had just come out, happened to see her move. His military body suddenly tensed up, and Yi Qian's heart was in his throat. He stared at Huang Yan, afraid that she would jump down from the 4th floor. But it didn't look like she was going to jump off the building. She looked like she was going to touch something. What was she going to touch? Yi Qian quickly hid in the shadow of the railing that was half the height of a person and crept closer to Huang Yan. Chapter 46-25. What was she trying to do by climbing the fence in the middle of the night instead of sleeping? Yi Qian, who was drenched in cold sweat, did not dare to stop her. She was afraid that if she suddenly made a sound, it would scare her. Huang Yan did not notice Yi Qian. After failing the first time, she hugged the wall with both hands and stood motionless, taking deep breath. Come on, Huang Yan. You can do it. If others can do it, you can definitely do it. Just try one more time. Who knows, maybe you'll succeed one more time. With her eyes closed, Huang Yuan did not feel so scared anymore. She started to move again. Yi Qian did not give her another chance to move. The moment he got close, he hugged her thigh and pulled her inwards. With a scream, Yi Qian pulled Huang Yuan back to the corridor on the 4th floor. The scream came from Huang Yuan. The sudden scream in the quiet dormitory gave the girls who were awake goosebumps. Yi Qian covered Huang Yuan's mouth in time, not giving her another chance to scream. Huang Yuan, why didn't you sleep in the middle of the night and climb the stairs? Who do you think will notice you if you fall? His cold voice floated into Huang Yuan's ears again. It made her body as stiff as a rock. Even her scream was stuck in her throat. She could only stare in horror, not knowing what to do. Several flashlights shone from the 1st floor. Yi Qian stood up and stood beside the fence. He said to the alarmed dormitory manager, "Teacher, I'm fine. I was just scared by a mouse." The dormitory manager, who had been frightened by the scream in the middle of the night, immediately heaved a sigh of relief. She did not recognize Yi Qian. She raised her voice and said sternly, "Go back to the dormitory and sleep." "Yes, teacher." Yi Qian, who was pretending to be a returning student, replied. He then turned to look at Huang Yuan. Good heavens! She was bending over and trying to escape. He took a few steps forward and blocked her way. He said in a low voice, "Do you know what you were doing just now? Don't you plan to explain yourself to me?" Facing Yi Qian, the tiger-turned mouse Huang Yuan bent over and tried to explain herself in fear. Yi Qian. He simply wanted to curse someone. She wanted to see if she could also jump onto the drainage pipe and slide down to the 1st floor, so she sneaked over while everyone was asleep. Yi Qian gritted his teeth and took a deep breath. He suppressed the anger in his heart and tried to make his voice sound calm. The 4th floor is so high. Every floor is 3 meters, so the 4th floor is 12 meters. You're 7 meters tall. Do you know the consequences of falling from a height of 14 meters? Huang Yuan was so scared that she was about to cry. She kept nodding her head. She knew, of course she knew. If you know, why are you still climbing? Yi Qian was so angry that he laughed. If you know, then why are you still crawling? Tell me the reason why you're willing to risk your life to crawl. Instructor, I want to be a soldier. If you can crawl, I can definitely do it too. This was the first time Huang Yuan had spoken to Yi Qian since that night. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. Want to be a soldier? The furious Yi Qian recalled Huang Yuan's unreasonable behavior that night. She was so arrogant and unreasonable. She really wanted to be a soldier. It was a good thing that she wanted to be a soldier, but she didn't want to be a soldier now. She wanted to die. Yi Qian adjusted his breathing again. Even his voice was so deep that it seemed to contain rust. If I can crawl, then you can too? Who told you that? I have professional training. Do you have any? You're learning Sanda, not crawling. I can crawl? Do you know why I can crawl? I've been training for almost 7 years. Do you? Do you? Where did you get the confidence to think that you can crawl to? Huang Yuan, it's good to be bold, but you're being reckless now. Chapter 46-26. Even though Yi Qian was brave, he was still frightened by Huang Yuan's boldness and broke out in a cold sweat. Because other people could climb, she actually thought that she could do it too. Then if other people committed murder and arson, one day when she felt like it, wouldn't she also commit murder and arson? After reprimanding her in one breath, Yi Qian's face was still ashen. His gaze was as cold as ice in the winter, so cold and sharp that it made Huang Yuan's shoulders shrink. She lowered her eyes, not daring to look at Yi Qian. After Yi Qian finished speaking, the anger in his heart dissipated bit by bit. Fortunately, nothing happened to the good person. If something happened to the bad person, just thinking about it made Yi Qian's heart tremble. A good daughter was sent to Xiang University to study, but in the end, she never returned. How could parents who spoiled their daughter accept this? They would probably want to blow up the school. Huang Yuan, you are already 19 years old. You are no longer a child. I don't know how you used to live day by day in the past, but now you are an adult who has left your home and your parents. You need to live alone and face everything alone. You should also restrain your reckless actions. Learn to think seriously and maturely about problems. Don't just do things based on your personal preferences. If you slipped and fell tonight, do you think you would still be alive to see the sun rise tomorrow? You will pay for your impudence with your life. Do you know why you are afraid of me? Because I am not afraid of you. In fact, I am even more ruthless than you. So, you are afraid. You also know that I will deal with you even more ruthlessly. You know that in your heart that is why you are afraid of me. There is always someone better. Society is not your home. It will not let you do whatever you want. It will not let you do whatever you want. It has a bottom line. When you cross that bottom line one day, there will naturally be someone who will stand up and deal with you. For example, you stepped on my bottom line. I will not let you go and let you continue to step on my bottom line. I will clearly warn you what the consequences will be if there is a next time. Even if your parents come forward, I will not back down. I have thousands of ways to let you know the consequences and teach you a lesson. No one will allow you to be impudent, and you will definitely be taught a lesson for your impudence. Think carefully about what I said tonight. Then see if anyone has been giving in to you like before these past few days. It's too late. We still have training tomorrow. Rest early. As an instructor, all Yi Qian could do was educate and criticize. What else could he do? She was a girl who was spoiled to the point of being arrogant and didn't even have basic morals. Her parents were the biggest culprits. Huang Yuan, who had shrunk her shoulders, moved her limbs, but still did not dare to look at Yi Qian. She lowered her head and got up. She tried her best to shrink herself, but her body and weight were too much. No matter how much she shrank, she could not disappear from Yi Qian's sight. When Yi Qian saw this, he was both amused and angry. Did you really think that I would kill you? Classmate, this is a society ruled by law. You can't just yell and kill them. Go in and sleep. She was so scared that he didn't know whether to call her bold or timid. The silent Huang Yuan quickly looked up and saw that Yi Qian was still staring at her. She shrunk her head back in fright and slowly walked towards room 405. She was dawdling so much that Yi Qian simply waited for her to walk in front of him. He had to keep an eye on her. What if she climbed up and did something stupid again? After taking a few steps, Huang Yuan stopped moving. She lowered her head and stood still like a pillar. Yi Qian looked at her for a while, then sighed and asked her, "Do you have something to say to me?" She felt like she wasn't a military instructor, but a caring older sister. Chapter 46-27. Huang Yuan really had something she wanted to ask Yi Qian, but she didn't dare. Now that Yi Qian suddenly asked, she swallowed hard, closed her eyes and quickly asked, "Instructor, you really didn't get into the military academy through connections?" Although she said it, the words made Yi Qian feel like he was going to vomit blood. He took a deep breath before answering, "You have to take the exam to get into the military academy, just like how you took the exam to get into Xiang University. You have to go through an interview, a physical, and a background check before you can get into the military academy." Using connections? Why don't you show me? Huang Yuan quickly looked up and said, "I can't find any connections, that's why I'm asking you." "Then I'll tell you now, it's okay. You have to take the exam yourself. Do you want to be a soldier? University students can do it too. You have to change your bad habits and try again. For example, being overbearing, being unreasonable, refusing to admit your mistakes, being arrogant, doing whatever you want. If you change these bad habits, you probably won't be eliminated in the first round. Also, even if you really do become a soldier one day, don't think too highly of yourself. There are many capable people in the army, far more than you can imagine. Don't think you're so great just because you learned Sanda. In our eyes, it's easy to get rid of you. If you want to be a soldier, you have to change yourself first before you think about it. Otherwise, it'll be a waste of time. Yi Qian was really worried. What kind of family could raise a child like Huang Yan? Using connections? Could it be that his family did everything based on connections? Other than using connections, was there no other way? Huang Yan lowered her head again. After a while, she finally said, "Oh." She was very confused. Clearly, she didn't understand what Yi Qian meant. But she didn't ask any more questions. She obediently followed Yi Qian back to the dorm. The news of Huang Yan copying Yi Qian and climbing up the fourth-floor drainage pipe in the middle of the night didn't spread. Other than Yi Qian, she was the only one who knew. In the following training, Huang Yan became more honest and silent. Even the girls in the dorm felt that she had changed a lot. Sometimes they were willing to take the initiative to talk to her. The boys, on the other hand, would pester Yi Jian to ask about the military academy and things in the army after every training session. Boys, after all, were born hot-blooded and had a great yearning for the military camp. Yi Jian would answer their questions seriously as long as it did not involve confidential information. Except for the class taught by Yi Jian, the other classes were also in the same situation. Even though Song Jiqiu and her classmates had returned to their dormitory, they still needed to entertain the boys who dropped by from time to time and answer their questions one by one. To this too. The other third-year students nodded their heads in agreement. Because of the occasional interaction between the students and the instructors, the relationship between them had reached an unprecedented level of harmony. Director Guan smiled at the chief instructor. It's better to look for the National University of Science and Technology. Out of the past few batches of military training, this batch is the most honest and obedient, and I don't have to worry about them. There had even been fights in the previous few classes. From the beginning to the 8th day of the military training, it was peaceful. Except for the students who fainted due to heatstroke every day, there were no other accidents. Moreover, the students and the instructors cooperated quite well. The evening became the time that the students looked forward to the most. They hoped to chat with the instructors more often. On the 10th day of the military training, the day after tomorrow, the military training also came to an end. As the military training entered the countdown, more than 1,200 freshmen also had obvious changes. For example, it was not a problem for them to stand still for half an hour. The leaders who came to observe from time to time nodded secretly. On the 9th night, Yi Qian and the other 36 military training instructors received the news that Xiang University decided to combine the freshmen of the two campuses and inspect them together the next day. At the same time, the instructor in charge of the other campus hoped to have a big competition with the instructor in charge of the headquarters military training for the students. Chapter 46-28. When Yi Qian and the others found out that the instructors of the northern campus wanted to have a competition with them, their first reaction was to mobilize a lot of people. There were more than 2,000 students in the northern campus and 1,300 in the main campus. They would need dozens of buses to get the northern campus students to the main campus. Why did they suddenly make such a decision? A surprised Yi Jian asked the chief instructor, "Isn't it too hasty to make such a sudden decision? Tomorrow is the inspection. Now that the two sides have merged into one, won't both sides have to go back to square one?" They had already started practicing square one yesterday and had practiced a total of 6 times today. Tomorrow, they would complete the inspection based on the square one they had practiced for the past 2 days. Now that the two sides were suddenly combined, how would they complete the inspection? It would be a mess. But this was the school's decision. The chief instructor couldn't change it. He also understood Yi Qian's concerns. Before he received the news, he had immediately expressed his opinion to the school, but the school's reply was that they couldn't change it. The Northern Campus students had jointly requested the school to hold an emergency meeting and finally agreed to the students' request. The students requested the school to hold an emergency meeting and agreed to it in the end. We won't make any changes here. The only change is tomorrow's competition between instructors. Nothing else will change. When the gala is over, we'll hold a meeting. The chief instructor saw that Yi Qian, who was calm and composed, frowned and joked. What, are you afraid of making a fool of yourself in tomorrow's competition? 1 against 3, I don't think you'll lose out. The first was Yi Qian and the third was others. Yi Qian chuckled at the joke. I don't dare to make a fool of myself. I'm just worried it'll affect the inspection. His smile faded and there was a hint of worry in his clear voice. The Northern Campus students don't practice square in the main campus. They're completely unfamiliar with it. They're also used to the Northern Campus's square. I'm afraid the sudden change will cause chaos. The chief instructor said, the school will arrange for the Northern Campus students to enter tomorrow morning. After 2 rounds of practice, the basic problems will be solved. We'll continue as usual and not interfere with each other. At this point, there was no point in saying anything more. Yi Jian and the other 36 instructors told the news to the military training students in their class before the party started. They thought that they would be against it, but they were all very excited and looked forward to the arrival of the students from the Northern Campus tomorrow. They were so excited that even Yi Qian was startled. He asked, aren't you afraid that something will go wrong during tomorrow's inspection? You've worked hard for 9 days, and now you're going to be inspected. Aren't you worried? Don't worry. We're not worried. Instructor Yi, we are not worried at all. Since they dare to come, then we dare to fight. That's right, who's afraid of who? Let's show them our might. Come and fight, this is what you taught us, Instructor Yi. Worried? Ha ha ha, we're not worried at all. We should make them worry. He's worried that all the glory will be stolen by us. Ha 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 ha. Confident laughter rang out in the class. Yi Qian was surprised, but he also laughed softly. She had made a mistake. They only wanted to affect the inspection, but they didn't expect that this group of young university students would be so hot-blooded that they wanted to compete with the Northern Campus students. That's right, good boys should be like this. Even the students thought of it, but as an instructor, she had neglected it. She should be criticizing herself. The other classes were similar to Yi Qian's class. The students all thought that the Northern Campus students had come to the main campus to demonstrate their power. Then let's see. Who's more impressive? Chapter 46-29. As such, Yi Qian put aside all her worries and sat in the middle of the class circle. She smiled and said, "Come on, let's fight. Tomorrow, you have to shout your slogans loudly and walk in unison. Also, remember to eat your fill for breakfast. Only when you eat will you have the strength to work. Do you understand?" Understood. Understood. The young and energetic students used their loudest voices to answer Yi Qian. On a large field, more than 1,300 students gathered in a circle to spend the last night of their military training. This night was also a night for the students to show off their talent. The gala started at 7 a.m. and ended at 9:30 a.m. The gala lasted for 2.5 hours, and it was time for the students to show off their talent. Yi Qian's class came up with 4 performances. In the end, 2 of them were chosen. One was a street dance performance, which was performed by 9 students together. The other was a quadruple ensemble of pipa, guzheng, eru, and flute. Other than the pipa player from their class, the other 3 students were from other classes. Yi Qian had only seen their class street dance rehearsal. There were 7 boys and 2 girls. When they moved their 4 limbs, Yi Qian couldn't stop applauding. The dynamic music coupled with the flamboyant and powerful body movements, such as bending, stretching, turning, circling, and shaking. A series of difficult movements completely stunned Yi Qian. When the 9 students saw their instructor clapping her hands until her palms turned red, their confidence was greatly boosted. They rehearsed even more diligently, determined to achieve the best performance. As for the quadruple ensemble of pipa, guzheng, eru, and flute, Yi Qian had never seen them rehearse. She didn't even know where they rehearsed. This afternoon, she wanted to go and take a look, so she asked the girl who played the pipa where the practice was so she could go and take a look. In the end, the girl ran away with a smile and said something about keeping it a secret. Keeping it a secret. Even she, the instructor, was kept a secret. The gala hadn't started yet. Yi Qian, who was chatting with the students, quietly listened to their thoughts on the 9 days of military training. Because it was the last night of military training, compared to the previous nights, the students' laughter had a hint of melancholy. Even when they spoke, there was a hint of sadness in their voices. As they chatted, they talked about an old topic, asking for their contact information. "Instructor, can you secretly give us the contact information? None of us will tell anyone, okay?" "Yeah, we won't tell anyone. Just give it to us. We all know that all the instructors are military school students from the National University of Science and Technology. You see, our 2 schools aren't too far apart, so we can definitely keep in touch, right?" "That's right. We won't look for you all the time. We're just like friends. We'll contact you once in a while. Instructor, please give us your contact information." Actually, it was easy to find Yi Qian at the National University of Science and Technology. Almost all the sentries at the sentry post knew Yi Qian. The main reason was that they would not let anyone in. Yi Qian's answer was still the same as before. He shook his head and smiled. "Our rules are as such. After the military training, you are not allowed to have any correspondence or phone calls with the military training students. You are not allowed to leave your personal contact information. You guys can't make me break the rules. Strict discipline is the basic requirement of a soldier. For us soldiers, it is an absolute taboo. No one can violate it or ignore it. If I gave you my contact information today, it would be a small matter to you that you would forget about it the moment you turn around. But for me, it is not a small matter. I would be violating the rules and regulations. I would be violating the discipline that a soldier should abide by. So, no matter how much you guys say, I will not violate the iron-like discipline." Chapter 46:30. When they received the same reply as before, they all sighed in disappointment. Just as they were about to say something, a boy who had gone to change into a hip-hop costume ran over. He was panting with a hint of mysterious excitement as he shouted, "Instructor!" Then, he said to his classmates, "Brothers and sisters, there will be a big surprise waiting for you tonight. I'll ask the instructor to go somewhere first. You can continue to chat. Remember, there will be a big surprise today. You'll definitely scream." Oh, they were already excited. "Instructor, the instructor of the number 1 company asked you to go there. He said he has something to discuss with you." The boy took Yi Qian away in the eyes of all the students, leaving the students who had nothing to do but watch the show whispering to each other, guessing what the surprise would be. "Meng Meng, what did you plan behind my back? You're the class monitor that I personally selected. You can't hide anything from me, the instructor." On the way, Yi Qian began to interrogate Meng Meng, trying to know what the surprise was in advance. Her intuition told her that the surprise had a lot to do with her. The instructor of the number 1 company had a comrade, Song Jiqiu. Did the surprise have something to do with him? Or did he plan it all by himself? Meng Meng laughed mischievously. The tall and thin boy, who was good at hip-hop dancing, kept the secret and shook his head. "I don't know either. Instructor, you'll know when you go there." "You really don't know?" Oh, I know the surprise has something to do with me. Since you came to inform me, how could you not know? I really don't know. I'm only responsible for passing the message. I know nothing else. Instructor, I'm a mute now. I don't know anything. Instructor Song told her not to be tricked by Instructor Yi because she was very smart. If she was careless, she would guess the surprise they planned. Meng Meng, who kept Song Jiqiu's words in mind, decided to pretend to be a mute from now on. Yi Qian smiled and didn't ask any more questions. If she kept asking, she would find a way to pry out the surprise. After passing through the sports field, a blue sports field, and a shady path with towering trees on both sides, they finally arrived at the destination. It was a club activity center of Xiong University. This was the secret base of the quartet practice. The activity center had a red brick exterior in the 1980s. It was a building without any paint, which gave it a sense of age. However, the interior had already been refurbished and had a modern feel. Walking up the stairs, Yi Qian heard the faint sound of a piano being played as soon as he reached the second floor. His eyes, which had been smiling just a moment ago, dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. They were like an unfathomable ocean. If one stared at them for a long time, one would see the indelible vicissitudes of life that made one's heart ache. Ambush from all sides, she recognized the tune that was being played. That was their surprise. They wanted her to perform Ambush from 10 Sides again. It turned out that this was the surprise that the instructor had prepared for the student. However, Yi Qian gently closed his eyes, suppressing the tears that threatened to fall from his eyes. This was the Ambush from 10 Sides that she danced to commemorate her comrade, J5. It wasn't really a surprise, but a sadness that was so deep in her heart that even the slightest touch would cause her pain. Meng Meng, who was half a step behind, noticed that something was amiss. He could even see the fragility and sadness on the instructor's face. What was going on? Instructor Yi, you... He wanted to ask what was wrong, but he keenly felt that even if he asked, the instructor, who had a flash of sadness in his eyes, would not answer truthfully. I'm fine. Let's go. Chapter 46-31. Yi Jian pursed her lips slightly and lifted her chin slightly, suppressing the sourness that suddenly rushed out of her eyes. Her voice was as light as a feather, and it made Meng Meng's heart tremble violently for no reason. Why did their drill master show sadness because of Ambush from 10 Sides? Suppressing the questions in her heart, Meng Meng didn't dare speak, and even her expression couldn't help but become solemn. As they pushed the door open and entered, they heard the song Ambush from 10 Sides. The soldiers who died on the battlefield widened their colorless eyes and left the world with nostalgia. The soldiers who were still alive raised their spears and roared loudly, charging forward again. They fought for their country, their homeland, and to protect the peace of their country. The soldiers in ancient times were like this, and so were the soldiers of today. Ambush from 10 Sides was originally a pipa performance. After the rehearsal by the 4 students, the pipa was still the main performance, and the guzheng, the flute, and the eru were the auxiliary. Playing 4 parts together was a different situation. The students in your class are too difficult. They asked me to tell them what kind of performance you can perform. I have been your classmate for 3 years, and I've only seen your performance once. Once is enough. It's shocking and unforgettable. If it's not convenient for you to dance again, we can cancel it directly. Song Jiqiu looked at Yi Qian quietly with worry in her eyes. She even lowered her voice. Just now, when Meng Meng said she heard Ambush from 10 Sides, there was a sudden sadness on her face, which made his heart sink. Could it be that the song Ambush from 10 Sides had another meaning for Yi Jian? After a long time, Yi Qian sighed softly. The reason why I didn't refuse Su Wen to dance Ambush from 10 Sides on the stage last time was that I danced for a comrade who sacrificed himself. Song Jiqiu was shocked. Even her eyes were full of shock. Danced for a comrade who sacrificed himself? Who? Why didn't he know? No, how could he know? There were many secrets about Yi Qian that they could not see through or know. From the fact that he asked for leave from time to time every year and lost contact with his classmates during winter and summer vacations, it could be seen that Yi Qian had other plans. A comrade who sacrificed himself. Yi Qian, what did you do when you were missing? Sorry, I should have asked you. When she spoke again, Song Jiqiu's voice was so dry that it was tight. She knew that she had made a very stupid decision. It was equivalent to tearing open the scars in Yi Qian's heart and forcing her to once again face the bloody past. Yi Qian chuckled softly. The sound of the strings rang in her ears, and her clear eyes were covered with a faint gray. It's fine. Let's dance then. It's fine, Song Jiqiu pressed the corners of her mouth tightly. She tried to persuade him again, but it was still in vain. On the other side, a third senior from Hunan University, who was also one of the hosts of tonight's party, was wearing a colorful off-the-shoulder dress. She had a sweet face and was one of the hosts of tonight's party. She took a look at the program and silently recited tonight's host lines. She smiled at her partner and asked, "Which program are you looking forward to?" The handsome male host, dressed in a white shirt and black suit, smiled and said, "Ambush from 10 sides, the only female instructor will go on stage. Didn't you say that he might not play? Just now, the production team told me that the female instructor agreed. When you come down this afternoon, you must take a good look at the only female instructor. She's very pretty." The male host was also a third senior from Hunan University. He and the female host had been partners since the first year of college, so they had a tacit understanding. "I've heard you mention it numerous times. Also, please don't say that another girl is pretty in front of me, okay? It's very hurtful." The female host smiled and glared at her partner, who was still tidying himself up. She looked him up and down several times and joked, "Look at you. Don't tell me that you want to pursue the female instructor? Ha ha, I can't. She's also from Nan province like you. Wang Rui, girls from Nan province are too difficult to pursue." Wang Rui, who was from Nan province, was also Yi Qian's classmate in high school. Chapter 46-32. At this time, Wang Rui did not know that she was about to meet her old classmate. She only knew that the female instructor was so popular that even her old partner, Jing Yi, looked forward to it. Later, I must take a good look at how beautiful the beautiful female instructor is. Will she be prettier than our great beauty, Wang Rui? It's so rare that there are beauties in the military school. I'm still wondering if the juniors have bad eyesight, or if she's the only female instructor, so they think she's beautiful. I have to see it with my own eyes. The male host, Jing Yi, who was tidying his clothes in front of the mirror, raised his chin slightly, straightened his bow tie, and lightly combed his hair with a comb. He looked left and right, and thought that there was no problem with his etiquette. He narcissistically whistled. "Handsome." He threw the comb on the dressing table, opened his arms, and turned to Wang Rui. "How is it? Handsome? Can I attract the beautiful instructor?" Wang Rui was putting on eyeliner. Hearing this, she glanced at him from the corner of her eye and nodded perfunctorily. "Handsome, handsome, handsome. Unfortunately, Tian is not here. Who are you showing your handsome face to?" When it came to his girlfriend, Jing Yi did not mention the beautiful instructor again. It could not be helped. His girlfriend was easily jealous, and he was in the same class as her. He did not want his girlfriend to be cold in a few days. 5 minutes before 7 o'clock, the bustling sports field suddenly became silent as the drill instructors blew their whistles. The female host, Wang Rui, in a long dress, walked through the aisle that was specially reserved for her. She was supported by the male host, Jing Yi, in a gentleman's palm. The sound of the clapping of hands was so orderly that Wang Rui and Jing Yi, the two hosts, smiled knowingly. Military training was very useful for the freshmen. Just like them in the past, they gained a lot after the military training. The most obvious change was that the applause became orderly. After the opening remarks, the party officially began. The freshmen, who were proficient in all kinds of martial arts, walked on the temporary stage and began their exciting performance. The audience below the stage used their red palms to tell them how outstanding their performance was. Jing-yi, who was closest to the audience, smiled and said, "This year's batch is full of capable people again. The new generation of the Yangtze River surpasses the old. Us seniors will soon be washed away by the waves and disappear in the blink of an eye." There was some sadness, some melancholy, but most of it was reluctance to leave the campus. 4 years of university passed in the blink of an eye. He clearly felt that he was still a freshman, but in the blink of an eye, he was already a senior and about to enter society. "You're sad now? Don't come crying in front of me." "I don't know how to comfort people," Wang Rui answered with a smile. Now that she was a grown-up woman, she was no longer as naive as she was in high school. She was slim and elegant, as if she had been reborn. On the other side, Yi Qian had rehearsed with the quartet no less than 5 times. He danced until he was drenched in sweat, and only then did he stop rehearsing. Those who studied music might have a heart that was easy to touch. When the last note fell, the girl who was playing the pipa in the class stopped playing and slowly withdrew her hand. Tears dripped from her tears and fell onto the strings of the pipa. The 4 students were silent, including the 2 male students. They were silent because of their instructor's sword dance. The girl who was playing the pipa kept her head down. Her tears kept falling and stopped for a long time. Ambush from 10 Sides was a Chinese pipa song. The music was intense and shocking. It put the mood of a hero not yet on the road into the sound of the strings. The listener's emotions were the most easily touched. Chapter 46-33. Those who hear it will be excited at the beginning and then be scared. Tears will be shed. Tears will be shed. The girl said in a low voice. Her voice was choked with sobs. Yi Qian drew back his long sword. When he drew back his sword, he was still as tragic as before. His heart was already mottled with blood. Song Jiqiu, whose eyes were red, walked to Yi Qian. She reached out and slowly took the sword in Yi Qian's hand into her own. She said softly, "Now I finally understand." He was also present when Yi Qian was rehearsing that year. At that time, he was shocked that Yi Qian, who had no dancing skills at all, could dance to a high level. She had perfectly presented the tragic end of a hero and the fearless death of Yu Buhui. At that time, he had only thought that Yi Qian was just performing for the sake of performing. Now, his state of mind had completely changed. She was not performing, but paying tribute to her comrades. To commemorate the comrades who had sacrificed themselves, to commemorate the comrades who had fought for the country, and to commemorate the heroes who had used their mortal bodies to resist the darkness, and to commemorate the heroes who had fallen in the end and remained nameless for the rest of their lives. Yi Qian looked up at Song Jiqiu and forced a smile. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she felt that her throat was blocked. In the end, she opened her mouth a few times and closed it tightly. Her emotions were fluctuating greatly now. That year, she had suddenly received a call from Captain Xia. She had received the bad news. Her limbs and bones had been bitterly cold. She had been unable to accept the departure of her comrade. In the end, she had sent off her comrade, J5, with the song Ambush from 10 Sides. Now she was a senior. J5 had left for 2 years, but he was still a pain in her heart that she could not touch. After a slight adjustment, Yi Qian looked up at the 4 students who were still looking down at the instruments in their hand. He said, "It should be our turn soon. Let's go." "Drill master!" A sobbing voice came. The girl who was playing the pipa said in a trembling voice, "I want to wash my face first. I'm so sad that I can't control my tears." The girl who looked up had tears all over her face. She cried for the tragic end of the sword dance. She cried for the departure of a hero who had died on the battlefield. She had accompanied 10-sided ambush countless times, but today she was in tears. Her heart had been tightened, and her emotions had been driven by the dancers. She had become the complete accompaniment. Yi Qian did not expect to make the musician cry again. Back then, Suwon had done the same. Looking at the other 3 students, the girl who was playing the zither was still secretly wiping the corners of her eyes, and the 2 boys who were just playing along had red eyes. Seeing this, Yi Qian suddenly felt as if something had broken out of the ground in her chest, burrowing into the depths of her soul. Her flesh was in excruciating pain. Staring blankly at the students who were crying, Yi Qian, whose soul was in excruciating pain, saw J5 in a trance. He was wearing a tailored military uniform that showed the temperament of a soldier. His bright eyes held a slight smile as he looked at her and the sad students. Finally, the excruciating pain in her soul made her tremble violently. Something had broken out of the ground in her chest and dug out the flesh in the depths of her soul in an extremely fierce manner. It was a ray of light that drove away the darkness, took away the haze, and ushered in hope. In that second, she finally understood the true meaning of war. It was because they were protecting them. They were crying for the heroes. Even if they died in battle, it would be worth it. J5, my comrade, did you see it? You must have seen it. Look, although the people you were protecting did not know of your existence, they were crying because of you, because of thousands of you like you. Heroes will not be depressed, they will not forget. The tears they shed are the best sacrifice to the heroes. Chapter 46-34. Let's go. Those who need to wash their faces, go wash their faces. Those who need to tidy up, go tidy up. We have to hurry up or we'll be late. Yi Jian smiled. As she smiled, the sorrowful and solemn atmosphere was shattered in an instant. Song Jiqiu, who was attentive, noticed that when Yi Jian said she was going to leave, she made a gesture of waving her hand to say goodbye. The movement was very small. If one did not observe it carefully, one would think that Yi Jian was just waving her hand casually. However, he could be sure that she was waving her hand to say goodbye. The smile on her face also changed. It was as bright as the moonlight that gradually revealed itself in the night clouds. It was clear, bright, and seemed to light up the darkness in the darkest corner. It was not bright, but it was enough to let people know that there was darkness ahead and that they had to move forward carefully. Song Jiqiu could not see through the mood behind Yi Qian's smile. If Xia Jinyuan or any Special Forces soldier of the Snowfield Brigade were present, they would definitely know. On the sports ground, the host Wang Rui saw the name that was added temporarily on the list. She kept looking at it. Her eyes, which were more beautiful with eyeliner, were wide open, full of disbelief. Yi Qian, she actually saw the name, Yi Qian, in the list of performers. It was a name that she had fully interpreted as brilliant when she was in high school. Was it her? Was it her high school classmate Yi Qian? It must be her. The University of Science and Technology of China. The military school that Yi Qian was admitted to was the University of Science and Technology of China. She had tried to contact him, and even went to the University of Science and Technology of China several times. In the end, she was defeated by the militarized University of Science and Technology of China. Even though she and Yi Qian lived in the same city, she had never met him even once. When the announcement was made, Wang Rui's breathing was a little messy. Jing Yi immediately came to the rescue and said with a smile, "It seems that our beautiful instructor's charm is boundless. Even the female host next to me can't wait to see the beautiful instructor's wonderful performance. Students, let us warmly welcome our instructor Yi and the 4 students who brought the quartet, ambush from 10 sides. Let's welcome Instructor Yi." Finally, Yi Qian, who was wearing a camouflage uniform and wielding a long sword, stepped onto the stage. Beside him were 4 students who were each holding a musical instrument. As he walked to the center, the applause once again became intense. All sorts of cheers were heard, and some students could be heard shouting, "Instructor Yi, I love you!" The host, Jing Yi, was shocked by the enthusiasm of more than 1,300 freshmen. Heavens, so popular! Having hosted 2 military training galas, this was the first time he had seen an instructor so popular with the freshmen. "I think their throats are going to be hoarse from all that shouting." The figure in the middle of the stage stood tall and straight, like a pine tree or an orchid in an empty valley. She had the pride of a pine tree and the fragrance of an orchid. She stood there, and even if she did not move, she was still the center of attention. It was the same as when he was in high school. There was no change at all. Wang Rui, who had her eyes fixed on the stage, did not hear what her partner, Jing Yi, had said. She only knew that Yi Qian was her high school classmate Yi Qian. They had not seen each other for 3 years, but she was even more beautiful and dazzling than before. Wang Rui took out her phone from her makeup bag and quickly sent a text message to her high school classmate that she had been in contact with. "Extra, extra! I saw Yi Qian at Xiang University. She is the most popular military training instructor among the freshmen of Xiang University. She is now performing a longsword performance on stage. We were high school classmates for 3 years. Who has seen Yi Qian's performance before? No one. But I saw it now. Also, she is even more beautiful than before. She is more elegant, beautiful, and handsome. When she went on stage just now, the juniors were all shouting, 'Yi Qian, I love you,' at the top of their lungs. She is still as popular as when she was in high school. She is popular with both men and women." Chapter 46-35. The nearly 150-word message was sent twice before it was completed. Then, Wang Rui forwarded it several more times. Every high school classmate with a mobile phone received Wang Rui's message. Yi Qian began his ambush from 10 sides, dance with his sword again. He was still dancing for his fallen comrades, and was still as sad as ever. Wang Rui's mobile phone's text message notification kept ringing. Wang Rui sent a message saying Yi Qian's performance has begun. "Let's talk later," to the 3 students who replied the fastest. She let the text message keep ringing, but she ignored it. It was just the prelude, but her attention was already attracted by her old classmate's sword dance. Not only Wang Rui, but also the host, Jing Yi, the Xiang University teachers, and more than 1,300 military training students were all attracted by the dancing figures on the stage. The music became an accompaniment. It was no longer the main stage. The real main stage was the figure dancing with his sword in the center of the stage. The tense atmosphere was accompanied by the cold gleam of the long sword. On the battlefield, soldiers were called. The war drums thundered. The horns were blown. The swords were in the air. The 2 armies fought endlessly until blood flowed like a river. The shadows of the swords were heavy and murderous. On the battlefield, the generals entered the battlefield. The soldiers charged. "Defend our country! Kill! Fight! Blood splattered! Roars! Strength can move mountains! Unparalleled chi! When times are unfavorable, it doesn't die. What can we do if it doesn't die?" Some people cried, their tears falling down. Some people were stunned, their hearts trembling. Some people put their wrists to their mouths and bit them with their teeth, suppressing the tears in their eyes. There were also people who closed their eyes, so sad that they didn't dare to take another look. Suddenly, a long flute sounded. The distant flute sound brought everyone's emotions into another time and space. A second ago, people were singing and dancing. In the next second, spears were fighting. With the accompaniment of the eru, the mournful sound and the dancers' swords, the students who were trying hard to suppress their tears could no longer hold it in. Hot tears rushed out. Suddenly, the sound of the pipa sounded. At the end of the road, at the end of the war, at the end of the general's life, at the end of the general's life, with no regret. The sound of the people was tragic. It mourned for the general and the soldiers who had died in battle. The dancing figures in the field seemed to have gradually lost their strength. They gradually turned from anxious to desolate, because the general was dead, and the people were crying. The sound of the pipa gradually faded away and was replaced by the sound of a zither. It was the sound of a girl playing a melodious guzheng. It was no longer ambush from all sides, but spring flower and autumn moon. After the fierce battle, the world was at peace and prosperity was ushered in. When Yi Qian sheathed his sword, the melodious sound of the zither slowly faded away. The surroundings were silent, and only soft sobs could be heard. Wang Rui covered her mouth. Her tears had ruined her makeup. Beside him, his partner Jing Yi's eyes were red and he was speechless for a long time. He even forgot that it was his turn to go on stage. His phone beeped with a text message. Jing Yi was so shocked that he dashed forward like an arrow. He had almost messed things up. Wang Rui followed closely behind and said, "My old high school classmate Yi Qian, I haven't seen you in 3 years. You've given me such a big surprise. I'm crying so hard down there. Shouldn't you comfort me?" As soon as she finished speaking, the male host, Jing Yi, immediately cooperated. He said in surprise, "So, you were so focused on crying that you didn't tell me that our instructor Yi was your high school classmate?" Yi Qian, who was adjusting his breathing, looked at his old high school classmate who was walking over. When he saw her makeup ruined from crying, a faint smile appeared in his eyes. "J5, my comrade in arms, the people you protect are crying for you tonight." And she finally understood why you and thousands of other heroes were not afraid to sacrifice themselves. It was because of them. Because they were the ones who protected them. What was there to be afraid of in sacrifice? Chapter 46-36. When Wang Rui asked why Yi Qian knew how to dance ambush from 10 sides, and why it made people cry, Yi Qian took the microphone and took a deep breath before replying, "In honor of the heroes who sacrificed their lives, I hope we can remember them. Even if we don't know their names, I hope you will know that there was a group of unknown heroes who sacrificed their lives to protect this country." His reply once again received the warmest applause, but it also made people cry. Wang Rui didn't say much as there was still a program to continue. She turned off the microphone and hurriedly made an appointment with Yi Qian before announcing the next program. The host, Jing Yi, was still nagging Wang Rui about why she didn't tell him in advance until the end of the gala. Wang Rui rolled her eyes at him several times. "You didn't tell me in advance, you're not loyal enough. You didn't bring me along now, you're not loyal enough. Wang Rui, you're too cruel. Bring me along, I just want to say a few words to your old classmate. Just a few words. After that, I'll leave immediately. I won't disturb your reunion, okay? Jing Yi Tian will arrive the day after tomorrow. Do you dare to nag in front of Tian? Wang Rui, who was in a hurry to leave, glared at her partner one last time before grabbing her makeup bag and running away. She had an appointment with Yi Qian, so she couldn't be bothered with him. In the end, Jing Yi, who didn't go, sighed and walked back to his dorm. He sent a text message to his roommate. "You guys didn't come to school early. There's a female instructor for the freshman military training. She's a military school student. She's so beautiful that all the girls are shouting, 'I love you.' She's really beautiful, even more beautiful than the babe we were talking about last time. She's handsome and beautiful. You guys didn't get to see her. You guys lost a lot." The topic of discussion among the boys was mostly babe, and the response was very quick. In the early 2000s, people still had to go to internet cafes to go online. Communication relied on 15 cents worth of text messages. Jing Yi, who wasn't picked up, finally found a sense of superiority among his roommates' envious voices. Look, at least he had seen her in person. He was much luckier than his roommates who hadn't even seen her. Jing Yi and his roommates went back and forth. On the other side, Wang Rui didn't stop when she heard the text message notification. Yi Qian, who was standing under the street lamp, looked at his old high school classmate running over. His eyes were already smiling. She had almost no contact with her high school classmate. She didn't even know that her old high school classmate, Wang Rui, was also in Xiang City. This time, if she didn't come to Xiang University to train, she was afraid that she wouldn't know that Wang Rui was in Xiang University until she graduated and left Xiang City. During high school, other than Yi Qian's relationship with Yao Jing and Suning, he was very close to the other students. Naturally, Wang Rui was the same. When the two of them met, they first gave each other a warm hug and then laughed together. They were so happy that they could not stop laughing. Come. Let's take a look at the messages they sent. I'll tell them that you're performing. They're so envious. Come look. A few of my classmates asked me to send a picture of your sword dance to their mailbox. Wang Rui took out the phone. She hadn't read the old messages yet, and there were dozens of new messages that she hadn't read yet. She skipped them and started reading from the first message. Seeing the message, Yi Qian knew that Wang Rui was in contact with 17 high school classmates. He smiled and said, "I almost lost contact with my high school classmates." After graduating from high school, she lost contact with her high school classmate. There was no contact at all. Now that she saw the familiar names again, those beautiful memories once again welled up in her heart. Although high school was only 3 years, there were many beautiful memories, and she knew Captain Xia's feelings for her. It was also during high school. Chapter 46-37. Wang Rui, who was flipping through the text messages, pursed her lips and smiled. Every summer and winter vacation, you didn't return to Nan Province, and you didn't log in to your mailbox. Every time we had a party, we would send you an email in advance. But you, are so heartless, you didn't even attend once. But we all know that you must be busy, otherwise you would have come to attend. So, we didn't blame you. We thought that there would always be a chance to meet. Look at this, the class leader sent it. Look at how envious he is. He said that the next time we meet, he must see your performance. Wang Rui said, her voice suddenly lowered, "It's better to change the program. Your performance can easily make people cry. How can you dance to the point that people want to cry? Before, when I asked you, you only answered in honor of the sacrificed heroes. Why do I feel as if it happened to you?" Before, she felt that the word sacrifice was very far away from her. However, today Yi Qian suddenly said in honor of the sacrificed heroes. It made her feel that sacrifice was not far away, but she didn't know. Yi Qian looked at the text messages sent by her old classmate. The corners of her mouth slightly curved as she softly said, "It happened to me, so my mood fluctuated greatly. Mengwen is also in Xiang City? Xiang University is separated from Dada. Do you and her often meet?" The question was gently changed. Wang Rui's lips trembled as her heart was shaken. She wanted to ask if she was in danger, but she didn't have the courage to say it. Seeing that Yi Qian didn't seem to want to say too much, Wang Rui slightly restrained her gaze and cooperatively changed the topic. "Yes, we used to meet on Saturdays and Sundays. We met the most in the first year. In the second year, she had a boyfriend. AI, the guy who sees a girl and forgets friends, immediately dumped me. It's already very good to see each other once a month. A few days ago, she said to me that she would bring her boyfriend back to see her parents during National Day. I advised her not to worry. It would be better to see each other's parents when her relationship and career are more stable after graduation. I don't know if she listened or not. It wasn't strange to have a boyfriend during college." Yi Qian smiled. "If you have the heart to advise her, she will certainly consider it." As for whether or not she will see her parents in advance, it's up to her personal determination. You don't have to worry too much. I'll remember her phone number. Next time, if I can come out, I'll call the two of you to see if we can get together. Besides you and Mengwen, are there any other classmates in Xiang City? Not anymore. There are more in coastal cities, but they've all started working. They don't have many common topics to talk about online. The classmates I contacted are still studying. As Wang Rui spoke, there was a hint of sadness in her tone. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Sometimes I feel that there are fewer and fewer topics to talk about. It doesn't feel like we were in high school anymore. Yi Qian pursed his lips slightly. Indeed, as time passed, the friendship between schoolmates would fade. When they met again, there would be a sense of unfamiliarity. After the two of them scrolled through all the messages together, Yi Qian borrowed Wang Rui's phone to reply to her old classmates' messages. Once she started replying, she couldn't stop. She kept replying until she notified Wang Rui that her phone was in debt. Sending a text message to my phone to owe me a bill, that's pretty impressive. Fortunately, the school's snack shop hadn't closed yet. Yi Qian ran while Wang Rui chased after him. Finally, she was able to recharge her phone, making Wang Rui not know whether to laugh or cry. You're still the same as before. You don't want to take advantage of others. My balance is at most 30 yuan. You're good, directly topping it up with 100 yuan. Yi Qian smiled and replied with a sentence that deserved a beating. Because I have a salary. Chapter 46-38. As expected, Wang Rui beat him up. So what if you have a salary? So what if you have a salary? Are you looking down on me because I don't have a salary? The two of them bantered and laughed. The unfamiliarity from their separation gradually disappeared, and they had more and more topics to talk about. The biggest difference between military academies is the militarized management and learning. Our physical fitness is more important. Cultural studies are less important, but research is still very important. Learning and physical fitness are two things. If you don't pass a class, you have to work hard. You can't just come out and play. Holidays aren't allowed either. You have to have a release certificate. Basically, you don't expect to come out for a walk. Even if you have a break, it will be used. Like National Day and May Day, it's hard to take a break for a long time. You have to hurry up and practice. At most, you can take a day off. Communication is very inconvenient. Once you enter the school, you will be isolated from the world. All communication devices must be handed over. If you don't, the punishment is stricter. No one dares to test the law. The food is quite good. The food is not bad. You can eat your fill. As for what to wear, Yi Qian patted the camouflage on his body. We wear military uniforms all year round. There are very few chances to wear casual clothes. It saves time to go shopping. It's the same as the army. There's no difference. The military academy manages it the same way as the army. It's very strict, but once you get used to it, it's nothing. Yi Qian explained the differences between military academies and high schools. Hearing his question, Wang Rui exclaimed, No. If it were us, we'd want to escape after 3 days at most. No holidays, full training. If you hand over your communication devices, the school will be rich. Although you have a salary, these rules and regulations are enough to stop me. Luckily, I didn't take things too hard and apply for military academies. Otherwise, I would have gone crazy. Just listening to it made her panic. This was not allowed, that was not allowed, and there were inspections on the road. You were scolded for not buttoning your clothes, for not wearing your hat properly, for not having your ID on you. Food, accommodation, clothing. Wang Rui counted with her fingers as she concluded. In the end, she stared at Yi Jian with a horrified expression and asked, May I ask, Yi Jian, is there any one thing that you don't care about? Her overly shocked expression made Yi Jian laugh in a low voice. Yi Jian thought carefully about what she had asked and shook her head. She said seriously, "It seems that there is no one who doesn't care. Everyone will. I'm going. How did you survive 3 years in the military academy?" It was simply inconceivable that he was still so energetic. "Now I understand why all the teachers advised you to seriously consider it when they found out that you wanted to apply for the military academy. You actually managed to endure such strict management. I'm impressed. If it were her, not to mention 3 days, she probably wouldn't even last a day." The rules and restrictions that Wang Rui was shocked by were nothing to Yi Qian. Without rules, nothing could be accomplished. Without rules, how could the army defend the country? Time flew by in Wang Rui's exclamation from time to time. They chatted until 11:30 p.m. when Wang Rui left reluctantly. There was still military training the next day, so Yi Qian had to rest early. Otherwise, she would definitely drag Yi Qian to her dormitory to chat until dawn. This time, it was destined to be another night of whispers. Many students would talk about the military training instructor, Instructor Ye's ambush from 10 sides, sword dance. Some felt that Instructor Ye's dance was very good, while others felt that it could not be compared to a professional. However, there was one thing in common: they felt a stirring and tragic feeling in the cold shadow of the sword. The night was deep and the noise had died down. Only the lanterns stood quietly. Chapter 46-39. The girls in room 405 had already fallen asleep. Yi Qian, who was lying quietly on the bed, closed his eyes and soon fell into a deep sleep. In the dark, Huang Yan opened her eyes. She held her breath and turned over very gently, her gaze landing on the upper left corner of the room opposite her. Huang Yan didn't know how long she looked before she quietly retracted her gaze. The host, called Wang Rui, was the instructor's high school classmate, a third-year senior. That should be easy to find. After the military training ended and the instructor was sent off, she planned to find Wang Rui and see if she could find out from her how Instructor Yi got into the military academy. She could join the military just by changing her bad habit. In the dark, Huang Yan pursed her lips. Before she went to university, she didn't think she had any bad habit. She even thought that other people had a lot of bad habits, but now she gradually realized that she did have a lot of bad habits. For example, casually rummaging through the instructor's luggage. She used to think that it was no big deal if she didn't steal or rob, but now she knew that she didn't even have a basic code of conduct. There were a lot of things that she needed to change, but at least she had a reference point that she could use to correct them. Instructor Yi was her reference to correct her bad habits. Huang Yan yawned as she thought about all sorts of things. Only when the moon was high in the sky did she fall asleep. At 6:30 the next day, dozens of buses drove into the school. More than 2,000 students in the northern campus began their Fangjing training, while more than 1,300 students in the main campus began their normal military training. This was also their last day of military training, so they were more serious and hard-working than ever. Even their voices were louder. At 8 o'clock, the instructors in charge of military training from the northern campus and headquarters met. There were 60 instructors in the northern campus for the 2,000-plus students, and 36 instructors in the headquarters for the 1,300-plus students. Xiang University alone had 96 instructors this time. The scene of both sides' meeting was quite spectacular. The northern campus military training instructors came from the local armed forces. They were armed police soldiers sent by the armed police force. They belonged to a different system from the military academy sent by the National University of Science and Technology. When both sides met, even if they smiled and saluted, there was a hint of swords in their eyes. Even when the chief instructors of both sides saluted and shook hands, there was a hint of gunpowder. When the instructors met, they were mainly discussing how to proceed with the tournament. Seeing that there was a female cadet among the cadets, the head instructor of the northern campus even joked, "The female cadet should be in charge of enjoying the shade. Don't hurt her during the tournament." The head instructor smiled and said, "Our students are looking forward to working with the armed police brothers. Everyone will go up and no one will be left behind. As for our female students, you should send an armed police officer who can take a beating. I'm worried that our female students won't know how to control their strength and accidentally injure the armed police brothers." While they were chatting and laughing, the oars turned into ashes. They exchanged blows back and forth, drawing their swords. The chief instructor of the northern campus had a smile on his face, but he was sneering in his heart. Then they wouldn't be polite anymore. After the meeting ended, they politely shook hands again. "Then, you go back to your camp, and I go back to mine. Riding a donkey and reading a songbook, just wait and see." The inspection began at 8:30 in the morning. When the flag bearer waved the flag through the inspection stand, the first square team was officially inspected. The 10 days of military training had allowed the freshmen to grow up. When they walked past the inspection, they saw that their steps were orderly and their expressions were serious. The school leaders and teachers on the inspection platform nodded their heads continuously. Chapter 4640. The students trained by military school cadets were actually so skilled. He could even smell the military aura from the students. Did you hear their voices? If you don't want to lose to them, you have to shout louder and more orderly than them, and walk with more vigor than them. You were the ones who requested to come to the headquarters for the inspection. Now that you're here, don't go back and embarrass yourselves. They were trained by military school cadets. You were trained by me, a veteran. Don't embarrass me, and don't embarrass yourselves. Do you hear me? Sensing the results of the inspection from the students from the headquarters, the Northern Campus military training instructors began to remind their students again and again. They really did not expect the students trained by military school cadets to be of such a high standard. It should be known that these old soldiers had never paid much attention to the cadets who graduated from the military academy. Now that they had suddenly discovered that the cadets trained by the cadets were actually so neat and orderly, even vaguely resembling soldiers, they naturally had to treat them with caution after their initial shock. The Northern Campus students were also full of energy. Since they were here, they definitely could not embarrass themselves. The students from the headquarters also had the same mentality. Since all the students from the Northern Campus were here for the inspection, how could they embarrass the headquarters? They had to walk properly, they had to be imposing, they had to be proud, they had to not embarrass themselves. These must cause the students from the headquarters to hold their breaths and use all their strength to display the results of the 10 days of military training in their best performance. The Northern Campus students and instructors were fully armed and ready. The students from the headquarters walked past the inspection platform one by one, receiving waves of applause. Wang Haiba, who was in Yi Qian's class, was so nervous that he kept muttering, "Left, right, left, right, left," that the students around him also became nervous. The boy on his left, who was also Yi Qian's class monitor, Meng, reminded him softly, "Stop muttering. The instructors have already corrected your problem. If you keep muttering, you might go back to being the same hand and foot as before. Just like during training. Relax, it's fine." How could Wang Haiba, who was the same hand and foot as before, not be nervous? He was the only one in the class who had to be called out by the instructors to train alone every day. Even during break time, it was no exception. Now that he had finally adjusted, he was afraid that his nervous problem would act up again. Relax. You're usually very good." Wang Haiba hurriedly raised his head to look. He didn't know when their instructor had walked over, but there was a faint smile in his eyes. He said to Wang Haiba encouragingly, "It's good to be like normal. You don't have to be so deliberate." Yi Qian's class president was still waiting. In order to prevent any students from feeling nervous, Yi Qian simply walked back and forth. He would immediately comfort any students that were nervous. Wang Haibo was not the only one who was nervous. Even Huang Yuan was nervous. Take a deep breath, clench your fists, and slowly release them. Try 5 times. Wang Haibo did as he was told. Facing the instructor's smile, after a few movements, Wang Haibo really felt less nervous. He pursed his lips and said shyly, "Instructor, thank you. I'm not nervous anymore." The host announced the start of another team from another faculty. It was about to be their class's turn. Yi Qian smiled at him again and returned to the front of the team. On the stage, Regiment Commander Pang from the Armed Forces Department said to Political Commissar Yu from the Military Academy, "I just heard from my instructor that you've sent a female student over. Old Yu, it looks like this female student of yours is very outstanding." Chapter 46-41. This was the first time the National University of Science and Technology had sent a female student to train outside the school. Regiment Commander Pang naturally wanted to know more about it. Also, the old soldiers from the Armed Forces Department had kindly reminded them not to let female soldiers participate in the competition. However, they were rebuked by a group of young faces. He really wanted to see how powerful the female students from the National University of Science and Technology were. The leaders in the military had a common problem. They all thought that their soldiers were very powerful. Even if they thought that their soldiers were average, they were definitely powerful in front of others. They were all experts in protecting their soldiers. Regiment Commander Pang from the Armed Forces Department was no exception. Then, Political Commissar Yu from the National University of Science and Technology was no exception. Hearing this, Political Commissar Yu, who had always been outstanding in political and ideological work, looked at the square team walking towards them. He smiled calmly and said, "They are very outstanding. You will see it later." "Okay, I will be waiting." Regiment Commander Pang raised his eyebrows. There was a hint of contempt in his tone. It was no wonder that Regiment Commander Pang would look down on them. The old soldiers trained in the mud every day and trained in the wind. On the other hand, the cadets from the military school had to take care of cultural studies. Their training time was relatively shorter. It was normal that their physical fitness was not as good as the old soldiers. Political Commissar Yu also knew the difference between the two. But so what? Being a soldier, other than having good physical fitness, didn't they also need cultural studies? Didn't they need knowledge to lead soldiers to war? Anyway, both sides thought that they were right. Both sides thought that their soldiers were very powerful. Therefore, every time they met in a meeting, there would always be conflict. Political Commissar Yu was very dissatisfied with Regiment Commander Pang's nonchalant answer. He wanted to argue again. However, he thought that it was better to fight back with strength than to argue with words. If he fought back with strength, he would be able to enjoy the changes in Regiment Commander Pang's expression. It would definitely be very interesting. Thinking about the big competition that would take place in about an hour, Political Commissar Yu smiled. The bright white sun shone on Political Commissar Yu's teeth that were exposed when he smiled. Regiment Commander Pang happened to see it. He couldn't help but frown secretly. Although old Yu was a political commissar who did ideological work, he was not any less ruthless than those who practiced martial arts. He was crafty and cunning. He was good at hitting people where it hurt the most. Even his old partner, old Zhang, who did ideological work with him, admitted defeat. But today he actually endured such a ruthless and cunning fellow. Could it be Commander Pang's fingers? Could it be that the female cadet that was? Wasn't it because she was pretty and wanted to use her to keep up appearances? Regiment Commander Pang gently rubbed his thumb. He felt that he needed to remind the instructor sent by the Armed Forces Department. Yu Jingtuan's mouth twitched when he saw this. His fake smile made the alarm in Captain Pang's heart ring. He reckoned that this was a capable person. Yi Qian's class had already reached the starting point. Following the announcer's announcement, the 43 students began to walk in an orderly manner to be inspected. Yi Qian's gaze tensed up slightly as he gently adjusted his breathing. "Let's go! 1, 2, 3, 4. Following the shouting of the slogan, the 43 students instantly straightened their backs and began their inspection. Marching, let's go! Pa! The most rhythmic march began. Step by step, it was so neat that the leaders at the reviewing stand clapped their hands again. Not bad, not bad. The standard of this batch of students is not bad. His steps are neat, his voice is loud and clear, and he looks very energetic. It's not worse than the ones trained by the male instructors. Not bad." Chapter 46-42. The leaders at the reviewing stand clapped and whispered to each other. Political Commissar Yu wanted to be humble, but when he thought of Regiment Commander Pang, he felt that there was no need to be humble. He smiled and said, "Xiao Yi is the most outstanding student in our school. Although she is a girl, her overall qualities are better than many male students. This is also her first training outside the school. I heard that the reaction of the class is very good. The students are all convinced by her. It is very good. From the students, Fang Zheng can see that she is indeed good. The students are convinced by her. This is very important. Some instructors can't get along with the students at all. Yes, yes, yes. The hot-tempered instructors have no patience." The whispers made Regiment Commander Pang secretly glare at Political Commissar Yu a few times. In return, Political Commissar Yu smiled slightly. Regiment Commander Pang pressed his lips together and regretted letting his Political Commissar go on a business trip. If he had known, he would have brought Old Zhang here. Old Zhang was the most suitable person to argue with. He was a rough person, so he really couldn't win against Old Yu. Regiment Commander Pang secretly gritted his teeth. He regretted not bringing his Political Commissar with him. Political Commissar Yu, who had won a round, picked up a bottle of mineral water that was heated by the sun. He opened the cap and gulped down 2 mouthfuls. No matter how hot the sun was, he still felt very comfortable. It took some time for more than 4,000 students to finish the line. They started from 8:30 to 11:30. The students from the northern campus and the headquarters finished the line. At this time, the sun was so hot that it made people feel dizzy. The surface of the ground was steaming hot, and everyone was sweating all over. After the students finished the line, it was the instructors' turn for the grand competition. 96 instructors stood in the empty square below the reviewing stand. The students, who were so hot that the corners of their eyes turned red, were instantly energized. They all stretched their necks and opened their eyes wide, waiting for a good show. The 96 instructors finished organizing their respective teams. With a loud shout, 72 instructors quickly stepped out of the rank. The remaining 24 instructors stood in formation, leaving the field for the instructors of the Grand Martial Arts competition. Although it was called a grand competition, it was actually a hand-to-hand combat. It was not the all-round competition in the army. The hand-to-hand combat was a battle between 2 instructors. Practice in advance? No way. Go easy on them? No way. No way. Then it must be a real fight. I'm a little nervous. Do you think our instructors will lose? I don't know. They shouldn't lose. Is it a real fight? Or was it a fake fight? They wouldn't really fight, right? If the other side loses, wouldn't it be very embarrassing? Who cares if he's fighting for real or not? It's fine as long as we can watch. That female instructor is also on the stage. Will she succeed? More than 4,000 students had already started discussing in secret. Their voices were not loud, but when they gathered together, they were like buzzing bees. Every one of them hoped that their instructor would win, and every one of them cheered for their instructor. Someone suddenly shouted, "Go, instructor!" In an instant the whole place was filled with "Instructor! Go, instructor!" There were even people who directly shouted, "Go, instructor!" The martial arts competition between the instructors had not yet begun, but the field was already very lively. The cheers and shouts made the instructors unable to help but cover their mouths and smile. On the reviewing stand, Regiment Commander Pang slightly leaned forward and smiled at Political Commissar Yu. "Old Yu, if they lose, don't criticize them when you go back. After all, they are just a group of students. They can't be compared to the veterans under me. After they graduate and train with the veterans in the army for a year or two, it should be about time." Chapter 46-43. Regiment Commander Pang, you should just sit back and watch. Don't get too worked up later. Come, drink some water first. Political Commissar Yu pushed a bottle of mineral water over and said with a smile, "It's easy to get hot under the sun. You have to stay calm." Regiment Commander Pang unscrewed the cap and drank half the bottle in one go. He let out a satisfied sigh. Following the shouts of the instructors, Regiment Commander Pang focused all his attention on his soldiers. "Bastards, you can't even beat a military school student today. Heh heh, prepare to be skinned alive when you get back." In the field, a fierce armed police instructor clenched his fists and bent his legs slightly. He stared at the military school student who was fighting with him. The armed police instructor who was fighting with Yi Qian slightly moved his neck left and right, revealing the muscles on his arms. It was obvious that he was very strong. He raised his eyebrows at Yi Qian, expressing his interest. Yi Qian replied with a smile, showing that she was also interested. Both sides were provoking each other. No one wanted to fall behind. At this time, no one would easily admit defeat. They all had the intention to compete. Yi Qian was no exception. She just wanted to win beautifully. Following the whistle, there was another loud shout. The hand-to-hand combat had officially begun. "Instructor, go for it! Instructor, go for it! Instructor Song, go for it! Go for it! Instructor Yi, go for it! You're the best! You're the most beautiful! Go for it! Go for it!" The two instructors fought. Slashes, slashes, kicks, kicks, throws, hugs. Everything was done. Seeing this, the students' eyes widened and they exclaimed, Tao Yi, can our instructor Yi win? The armed police officer fighting with her is twice the size of Instructor Yi." A boy was very nervous. He pulled Tao Yi and asked, "If that punch comes, Instructor Yi will probably be sent flying." "Don't talk nonsense. Instructor Yi is very strong." Before Tao Yi could answer, Huang Yan defended her. "Do you think Instructor Yi can't fight because she's thin? Tao Yi is stronger than Instructor Yi. Didn't he still lose?" Tao Yi, who had pulled her back as a cushion, felt his heart skip a beat. He said to the boy, "She's right. For this kind of hand-to-hand combat, strength alone isn't enough. You have to be agile." Instructor Yi's strength. Every time Tao Yi thought about the sparring session on the first day of the military training, he could still feel the pain in his leg that was kicked by Yi Qian. Pursing his lips, Tao Yi continued to whisper, "Instructor Yi's strength isn't bad. It's quite big. It's still unknown if the other instructor can win. There won't be a winner or loser right away. Let's warm up first so that we can enjoy watching. After that, we'll officially start the competition until the winner is decided." Those who knew the ropes would naturally be able to see the twists and turns, unlike the other students who only cared about who was beaten up. Seeing that Tao Yi didn't say anything else, Huang Yan turned her head to look at it seriously. After 10 days of military training, even Yi Qian did not expect that Huang Yan, the girl who had pissed her off first, would become the girl with the best military performance in the class. She could crawl and stand, and even her shooting results yesterday were quite good. Yi Qian was shocked. She was a good seedling to be a soldier. If her problems were really cured, she could quit school and apply to join the army. If her performance in the army was good, she could stay. The 72 instructors tested each other's strength back and forth. They all knew that it was time to decide who was better. With a faint coldness in her eyes, Yi Qian suddenly grabbed the armed police instructor's wrist with one hand. She stretched her right leg forward and then to the side. Her movements were fast and fierce. She didn't give the instructor any chance to resist. After her right leg moved to the side, her upper body moved to the side as well. With a low shout, she cleanly and nimbly executed a perfect shoulder throw. Chapter 46-44. Great! Political Commissar Yu shouted and was the first to applaud. While he was applauding, the school leaders and teachers who were dizzy from the sun also began to applaud. The loudest applause belonged to the teachers sent by the National Science University. Regiment Commander Pang had to applaud. Even if his canine teeth almost broke, he had to applaud. Clap, clap, clap. He arched his wrist and pulled his hands apart. Clap again and again. His fake smile made people panic. How could Political Commissar Yu let go of such an opportunity? Seeing that Regiment Commander Pang's canine teeth were sore, Political Commissar Yu deliberately moved closer and smiled. Regiment Commander Pang, thank you for letting me win. No wonder you sent a female student. Not bad. She does have some skills. Although they were the ones who lost, Regiment Commander Pang had to admit that the female student's attack was quite good. It was a very direct attack without any fancy moves. He had to admit that although she was a female student, her ability was not inferior to others. The smile on Political Commissar Yu's face deepened. The spectating students were so excited that they were applauding. Oh my God! Our instructor Yi is awesome! Awesome! Too awesome! Such a tall instructor, and she actually threw him over her shoulder. Too awesome! They are so excited to see me. Instructor Yi is the first one to throw an instructor down. She is the first one. Tao Yi, did our instructor Yi show mercy to you that night? She didn't throw you like that. Tao Yi, who was once again brought up as a topic, felt helpless. He could not avoid this topic. She didn't throw me like that. She did show mercy. Watch carefully. It won't just be one fall. There will be two more. Tao Yi, who did not want to be one of the topics, quickly changed the topic. He won and was often mentioned by his classmates, but he lost and was always mentioned. It was embarrassing. The students who were trained by Yi Qian were so excited that their eyes were shining. If it were not for discipline reminding them, they would have roared and cheered loudly. No matter how excited they were, the more than 4,000 spectating students stood in their square formation. There was no chaos. This was also one of the results of military training. They had good discipline. After being thrown over the shoulder by Yi Qian, the military police instructor was stunned for at least 5 seconds before he could react. There was only one reaction. Damn it, I was actually knocked down by a female soldier. No, it wasn't a female soldier. It was a female student from the military academy. He was knocked down just like that. Climbing up, the armed police instructor, who had been full of confidence earlier, had a trace of ruthlessness flash across his face. He attacked again. In a duel that had not been rehearsed, there would not be a phenomenon where every move would be the same. Therefore, the entire scene would be slightly messy, but it was definitely several times more exciting than a unified arrangement of moves and a unified arrangement of which side would be knocked down. The students who were sent to train outside the school this time were all outstanding students in all aspects of the school, especially in terms of physical fitness. All of them were tough characters. Political Commissar Yu silently drank a mouthful of water. He was very glad that he had made a wise decision before. Arranging for the students to come to Xiang University for training, he said to the vice principal, "You have to arrange this matter well. The northern campus is the armed police soldiers sent by the local armed forces. This is the first time we have established a cooperative military training relationship with Xiang University. Sending two different instructors to train will make it easy to determine who is better. We can't lose. The students sent to Xiang University this time must have good physical fitness. Chapter 46-45. It was because of his suggestion that 36 excellent students had come to Xiang University for training. Now that they were fighting against the armed police, at least they didn't have to worry about losing. The smile on Commander Peng's face had already disappeared. He hadn't expected the students sent by the National Science University to be so powerful that even a female student. Damn it! Another one of his soldiers had been knocked down. Get the F***ck up. The smile on Commander Peng's face disappeared completely. He had been wearing a serious face, but now he was gritting his teeth secretly. His hands, which were on the platform, were off the platform. He clenched his fists so hard that his knuckles cracked. The instructor of the armed police, who was pressed by Yi Qian on the back of his neck and held by one of his hands behind his back, couldn't accept it. He was knocked down again. This time he was even more miserable. He was restrained by the female students and couldn't move at all. While struggling, the instructor's tan face turned red. Large drops of sweat flowed down his cheeks. He made a low sound like a trapped beast. Don't panic, bro. I'll give you 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, I'll let you go right away. Yi Qian kindly reminded him, you only need 3 seconds. This kind of reminder would only make people vomit blood. Yi Qian might have done it on purpose. This was how kings met kings. On the other side, Song Jiqiu successfully hugged an instructor of the armed police and threw him to the ground. Then she wrapped her legs around his legs so that he couldn't move his lower body at all. She held his hands behind his back tightly. Both of them fell to the ground sideways until 10 seconds passed. Not all the instructors were like that. Some of them were knocked down by the instructors of the armed police. More than 4,000 students kept applauding the real hand-to-hand combat. They were so excited that they seemed to be fighting on the field themselves. All of them were attracted by the combat of the instructors in the field. Commander Peng, who had thought they would win the battle, kept a tight expression on his face. Even the air around him was suppressed a lot. He pursed his lips and sat there expressionlessly. It was obvious that he was angry. Political Commissar Yu smiled slightly. This old Peng was a little stubborn. However, it was quite understandable. What he had thought was not the case. The gap suddenly appeared. It would be strange if he could be calm in his heart. When Yi Jian knocked down the military police instructor for the third time, this time, she used a side kick to trip the attacker and then used her elbow to press down on the opponent's neck. Huang Yan had already slapped her hands until they were red. She used so much force that Tao Yi, who was sitting behind her, was worried that her palms would be swollen. Damn! Instructor Yi is really amazing, so handsome. Thrice. 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 I can't tell. I can't tell. She's a good fighter. I'm scared to death. I'm scared to death. I realize that Instructor Yi is using chokeholds. Will she really kill the other instructor? It's the first time I've seen a girl. She's beautiful and can fight. I'm a little worried that Instructor Yi won't be able to get married. Go, go, go. There are a lot of people who want to marry our instructor. Yi Qian had completely conquered all the students in the class. No matter if they were male or female, they were all conquered. The 15-minute martial arts competition ended quickly. The students wanted to continue, but unfortunately, they only had 15 minutes left. After the two instructors finished their hand-to-hand combat, they shook hands politely. There was no longer the flash of swords, and they could even look at each other and smile. The armed police officer who shook hands with Yi Qian was on the verge of tears. He said softly, "Instructor Yi, do you know what will happen to me? It will be very, very tragic." How could he be so unlucky to be knocked down by a female student from the military academy 3 times in a row? Chapter 46-46. The strength-type military police instructor looked at the muscles on his arms silently and cried in his heart. Pang Tuan had asked him to change positions and let him fight with the only female instructor. If he had known, he would have refused. After shaking hands, Yi Qian said with a smile, "I'm sorry. I think I have to tell my superiors when I go back. It's better to fight with the same moves. We can't fight by ourselves directly." Later, every time the instructors fought with each other, they would rehearse in advance. They would use the same moves and decide which instructor would be defeated. After the competition between the instructors, it was the last part of the military training. The freshman representatives went up to give a speech. The North Campus and the headquarters each sent a freshman. The freshman representative from the headquarters came from the class taught by Song Jiqiu. The tall and handsome boy went up to the stage. Yi Qian heard the girls in his class gasping in amazement. The handsome boy's skin was still fair after 10 days of military training under the sun. In Tseng Kan's words, it was like the feeling of first love. Yi Qian looked at the girls in his eyes with amusement. He coughed lightly, indicating that they should be more reserved and pay attention to their image. Nowadays, the girls all came for the face. Whoever was handsome would be the number one. Even if they talked about the topic during the break, they would often talk about who was handsome. Song Jiqiu, who was good-looking and had the temperament of a scholar, became the instructor that the girls in his class talked about the most in private. They liked to walk in front of Song Jiqiu on purpose from time to time, trying to attract his attention. Song Jiqiu had made a serious protest to her in private, hoping that she could stop the girls' enthusiasm. Every time he was stared at by girls, he felt very uncomfortable. Although he was a man, he also felt shy. In the group of instructors, Song Jiqiu was definitely the representative of handsome, which made the chief instructor tease him. "It's just a little sacrifice. A real man shouldn't be so stingy. If they want to see you, let them see as much as they want. You won't lose anything." The other male students laughed. They had no choice. After all, he was handsome. The handsome boy on the stage didn't have a script at all. He spoke Mandarin with perfect pronunciation without any accent. His voice was also very pleasant. Just by hearing his voice, people would think that he must be a handsome and sophisticated boy. The feeling of first love? Yi Qian nodded slightly and pursed his lips into a smile. Only little girls liked this type of refined and handsome boy. The instructor that I admire the most during this military training is not Instructor Song from our class. Instructor Song, I'm sorry, but I still want to praise Instructor Yi from next door. Below the stage, the students were already laughing softly. Even the leaders on the reviewing platform were laughing. Yi Qian facepalmed. Praise her? Praise her for being tough. In front of her, all the boys in the class said that she was tough. There were even students who teased her. If the two of them got into a fight after marriage, would she give in to the man? Song Jiqiu was also amused by the freshman representative. She thought, this guy is naughty. The boys were praising Yi Qian. On the stage, Regiment Commander Pang moved closer to Political Commissar Yu and asked curiously, "Who is this Xiao Yi? Is he from the Red family?" The students in other classes didn't even praise their own instructors. They especially praised her. She was very popular. Political Commissar Yu knew Yi Qian's family background. Of course, he only knew that Yi Qian's mother was a martyr. He sighed slightly and answered Regiment Commander Pang, kind of. His parents died. His mother was a martyr. His daughter inherited his mother's work. Chapter 46-47. Speaking of Yi Jian's family, there was pity in Commissar Yu's eyes. Yi Jian had no parents since he was young. It was not easy for such a child to grow up, and it was even more difficult for Yi Jian to become so successful. Both her parents are gone? Regiment Commander Pang was a little surprised. He paused for a while and sighed. Both her parents are dead, but she can still be successful. She must be very outstanding. Yes, she has self-discipline and self-management ability. If she claims to be second in the third year, no one will dare to claim to be first. She is a very outstanding female student. So, old Pang, it is not wrong for your soldiers to lose to her. Our instructors will not casually spar with her since she started her second year. She is that good? When will she have time to give pointers to the Armed Forces Department? Regiment Commander Pang's interest suddenly increased. His eyes flashed with a trace of calculation. Political Commissar, you immediately became vigilant and refused. Fourth-year students do not have much time to go out. Besides, giving pointers to your Armed Forces Department, don't you think it is embarrassing? She is only a military school student. Speaking of embarrassing, Regiment Commander Pang coughed a few times and suppressed the thoughts in his heart. After the freshman representative finished his speech, the host announced the end of the training. The 10 days of military training for Xiong University's freshmen came to an end. The bus had already stopped at the campus park, waiting for the freshmen and instructors to get on. When it was time to say goodbye, Yi Qian was completely surrounded by the students. Some of the girls even cried out loud. The boys were also very reluctant and wanted to get Yi Qian's contact information. At the same time, Yi Qian also received a notebook with 43 students' messages and their contact information. They hoped that they could contact each other again in the future. Yi Qian received the notebook with a beautiful cover. As for contact information, according to the rules, even after the military training ended, instructors were not allowed to write to students. Looking at the reluctant faces in front of him, Yi Qian did not tell them the truth. Instructor, if you have time in the future, come to Xiong University more often. When you come, contact us. We will definitely be there. Instructor, remember to send us an email. Don't lose contact with us. If one day I want to become a soldier, I will definitely ask you. Instructor, you must find a handsome boyfriend. We will wait. Instructor, if you can't find a boyfriend, then come to our class and pick one. I'll be the first to sign up. F*CK, F*CKU. Cursing our instructor for not being able to find a boyfriend? Instructor, I'll sign up too. I'm ranked second. Perhaps it was because the military training had ended, but their words were much more casual. However, they were still respectful and did not dare to say anything that was too overboard. Yi Qian was already at a loss for words from their teasing. This group of children, well, in her eyes they were just a group of children. They were much more energetic than she was at that time. 18 or 19 years old, high-spirited and youthful. It was time to say goodbye. No matter how reluctant she was, she had to wave goodbye. The car started, and Yi Qian saw her classmates standing there, waving at her from afar. Sighing softly, Yi Qian lowered his head. His hands caressed the notebook containing the messages of the 43 students in class. His eyes were already filled with a warm smile. A pure heart was rare and precious. Although the students could control their emotions in front of their classmates, when they got on the car, they were all in low spirit. The atmosphere in the car was very gloomy. One or two of them were silent, and no one wanted to speak. Yi Qian and Song Jiqiu sat in a row. They were quite close, but they did not speak. One looked out of the window, and the other looked at the notebook. They were so silent that it was obvious that they were in low spirits. Chapter 46-48. The chief instructor stood up and looked at the 36 trainees on the bus. He sighed softly. It was the same every year, which made him feel depressed. Although the military training only lasted for 10 days, for these trainees, the trainees were their soldiers. They taught them every movement and command. They sweated and laughed together. Even if it was only for 10 days, they were the soldiers they had trained. How could they be in a good mood when they parted with the soldiers they had trained? After a period of time, he would be able to walk out on his own. Time was the best healing medicine. When they were about to arrive at school, Song Jiqiu, who was sitting by the window, moved her arms and took out a few letters from her pocket. She touched Yi Qian's arm gently and handed the letters to him. Yi Qian was reading the message book. Seeing this, he looked at Song Jiqiu confusedly and asked, "For me?" "Yes. Some boys in the class secretly put it in my backpack. I thought about it and took it." Song Jiqiu, who was in a better mood, smiled teasingly. "It's a love letter, but I didn't read it." Seeing the teasing in her eyes, Yi Qian answered calmly, "Of course it's for you. What does it have to do with me?" It was better for her not to take the love letter. She had no choice. Her man was narrow-minded. If he knew about it, she would be drowned in jealousy again. "You really don't want to read it? Aren't you curious?" Song Jiqiu raised her eyebrows. "Do you mind if I read it? I want to learn." Yi Qian thought for a while and answered, "I suggest you don't read it. Anyway, it's personal. Destroy it. Don't let the chief instructor find it. Otherwise, you'll be criticized." He even dared to take the love letter, written by the students. He was asking for a beating. In the end, the two of them didn't read what was written in the love letter. Instead, they read the message booklet in Yi Jian's hand. It was full of witty words and even recorded the things that Yi Jian said in Pingyu, which made people laugh. "Sir, there's a bug on my face. You can kill it with your eyes or influence it with your eyes. Choose one." "Sir, I want to go to the toilet." "Don't worry. Your bladder has enough capacity. Bear with it. You just went to the toilet 20 minutes ago. I can't help but suspect that you're weak in some aspect. Can you still hold on?" "Yes." "Not bad. I'll add another 10 minutes of standing at attention." There was even a machete added at the end of this sentence. "Instructor, at that time, you tortured and killed the entire class thousands of times in our hearts." Seeing this, Song Jiqiu, who could not speak loudly and could only hold back her laughter, laughed so hard that her stomach cramped. "I didn't expect that you would be so happy during the military training. I didn't know. I really didn't know. Even I'm not as happy as you. His popularity isn't for nothing." Yi Qian was also laughing so hard that she had to clench her fists to hold back her laughter. Even she could not believe that she had said so many funny things during military training. As he watched and smiled, his mood gradually improved. As for the contact address, phone number, and email, the two of them tacitly chose to ignore it because it was impossible to contact them. After returning to the military academy, Yi Qian, who had entered the senior year, quickly immersed himself in his intense studies. So did Su Wen and He Jing. The training outside of school had become Yi Qian's beautiful memory in his military career. Sometimes he would inadvertently think of it and smile unconsciously. The students in the senior year were even busier. There was no such thing as a senior year at all. They were as busy as before. Sometimes they even had to run over to train the freshmen. They were so busy that they even had to plan their sleeping time carefully. From the scorching sun at the beginning of the semester to the white snow, when Yi Qian raised his head from his busy work, he found that the days had passed as quickly as turning a page. In the blink of an eye, the first semester of the senior year was over. Chapter 46-49. Another semester was about to end. Yi Qian and Xia Jinyuan also didn't contact each other for a whole semester. The two were like disconnected. No one knew what the other was doing, whether it was good or bad, they didn't know. Although the two didn't contact each other, in the middle of December, Yi Qian received a call from G3 in the brigade. He was ordered to contact Yi Qian and talk about some things in the brigade, as well as why Captain Xia Jinyuan was missing. Not long after returning from the northern border, Xia Jinyuan took the newly joined special forces to carry out another mission. Not long after returning, he was once again sent abroad. This time, he was sent to the side of a big leader who went abroad for a visit. Immediately after, he went abroad to carry out another mission. When the pigeon contacted Yi Qian, he still hadn't returned to the brigade. But before leaving, Xia Jinyuan told G3 that if he didn't return by the end of December, he should let G3 contact Yi Qian and mention his situation a few words. He couldn't say anything else. Since receiving the call in the middle of December, another month had passed. Yi Qian didn't receive another call from the brigade. He also didn't know whether Xia Jinyuan had returned or not. Fortunately, Yi Qian was used to it. Other than being worried, he didn't complain. But today, he missed her very much because it was snowing. Once during a snowy season, he came to the campus. The two walked through the cold wind for more than half of the military academy. They were so cold that the tips of their noses turned red, but they still couldn't bear to separate. And this year's first snow, she was the only one walking around the campus. Xiang City's first snow came late. 3 days before the winter vacation, a goose feather-like snow fell overnight. The entire campus was covered in a vast expanse of white. It was very beautiful. The always solemn and serene campus was filled with cheerful laughter. Those were the students who were shoveling snow for their own amusement, avoiding the pickets and having a snowball fight. Along with the sound of orderly running, all the students finished gathering and started their morning exercise. No matter how warm the quilt was, it couldn't keep the students who needed to get out of bed. Suwon hugged a pile of information books and looked at the students running in the morning. She said to Yi Qian and He Jing, both with emotion, "Freshman students, senior brothers and sisters, were they like us today, standing here and looking at us as freshmen? There must be." He Jing nodded and answered with certainty, "But they're definitely not as stupid as the three of us. We've been standing there for more than 10 minutes. If we don't leave now, they'll think that we're spying on them." He did not move half a step. Standing in the cold wind for more than 10 minutes, he really did look like a fool. Yi Qian looked up from his documents and smiled. "I didn't. It's the two of you." Just as he finished speaking, he saw a tall and straight figure walking in front of him. His target was clear, and it was obvious that he was looking for someone. Yi Qian gently nudged He Jing's arm and said with a smile, "You're doing it again. You've been quite presumptuous lately." He Jing looked up. Isn't this impudent?" As the holiday was approaching, Song Jiqiu, a student, was not as reserved as before. Instead, she came to him openly. She did the same today. "You guys go to the classroom first. I still don't have the local topography materials. I'll look for you when I find them." Yi Qian was the first to speak. She had a good reason to leave, and she had indeed missed out on a military topography textbook that she needed for her graduation. The first 3 days of the winter holiday were the time for all kinds of exams. Even though Yi Qian was the best at arranging time, he was still a little flustered. Suwon, whose nose had turned red because of the cold wind, did not notice her boyfriend walking toward her. She rubbed her nose and said in a hoarse voice, "Okay, I'll go to the classroom with Jing." She had caught a cold a few days ago, so her voice was hoarse and her nose was stuffy. Until today, she still had some mild symptoms. Chapter 4650. Since his girlfriend had a cold, of course, her boyfriend would take care of her all the time. However, Song Jiqiu was quite good at reconnaissance. Apart from Yi Jian and He Jing, the students in her dormitory did not know that she had been in a secret relationship for 1 semester. She would definitely keep it a secret. Since the boyfriend who took care of his girlfriend was here, He Jing naturally wouldn't accompany him. The two of them were whispering sweet nothings to each other. She didn't want to be a third wheel. She immediately said to Suwon, whose skin was much better because of their love, "I'm sorry. I have to go back to the library. You go back to the classroom first. You don't need to accompany us. If you accompany us every day, someone might have a problem with us. Suwon came to her senses. She turned around and saw her boyfriend, who stuck close to her because she had a cold, strolling toward her. She felt sweet and embarrassed at the same time. Before she said anything, Yi Qian and He Jing left sensibly. They had no choice but to accept the kindness of others. Last week, Song Jiqiu invited them to dinner and asked him carefully if he could let Suwon be with her boyfriend a few days before the holiday. They ate and nodded. Then they generously let Suwon go. In this way, Song Jiqiu dared to come here on time every day. Why are you here again? Didn't you tell me not to come here all the time? Be careful not to be discovered by the teachers. If so, we'll be in serious trouble. In this relationship, Suwon was much more cautious than Song Jiqiu. She had to be cautious. She was about to graduate. Thanks to her own efforts and Yi Qian's encouragement, she had finally improved the teacher's evaluation of her. She didn't want to go back to the days before liberation because of a relationship. Perhaps it was because the female students in the military academy were all very rational, but Suwon was not blinded by love. She could see clearly and distinguish clearly between the two. Song Jiqiu was also clear-headed. Otherwise, she wouldn't have concealed it from her comrades in the dormitory. If Suwon hadn't caught a cold, he wouldn't have come here all the time. After hearing that, he took the thick documents from Suwon's hands. He glanced at the two figures who left before he came and said with a smile, "I know what I'm doing. Let's go. My nose is still stuffed. I didn't sleep much last night." A second ago, she was complaining about how Song Jiqiu had come over. The next second, she acted like a spoiled child. "I don't even want to get up in the morning. I'm so tired. Why are you standing outside with a stuffy nose? I'll send you back to the classroom first, and then I'll go to the infirmary to get some medicine for you. You must take your medicine on time, don't make me keep an eye on you." I know, old man. You think I'm nagging? Then be obedient and don't make me worry. You're so worrisome. You don't even know how to take care of yourself when you have a cold. Suwon's smile was so sweet that her eyes were filled with sweetness. With you keeping an eye on them and worrying about them, why should I worry? The two of them walked side by side, maintaining a certain distance from each other. Although it looked like an ordinary relationship, the conversation between the two of them was as sweet as butter. He Jing said to Yi Qian, "I still can't believe that the two of them are together. I never thought that they would become a couple." Yi Qian also didn't expect that Song Jiqiu would say that she wanted to pursue Suwon during the outdoor training on the 1st of May. At that time, she was also very shocked. According to Song Jiqiu's temperament, she should have found a demure, gentle, and dignified girlfriend. However, she found a completely opposite one. She found Suwon, who was lively, gentle, dignified, and demure. She lacked everything. He said that he wanted to pursue Suwon, but she really didn't think that he would be able to pursue Suwon. This was because Suwon had never said anything about being interested in Song Jiqiu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.